The first use case you think about blockchain is payments, right? So that's the first thing you want to do is show that you can secure a payment mechanism just like Visa, MasterCard, but much more secure, without middlemen, take away the fees, offers economies of scale. So the more people use it, the cheaper it gets. The way we view the future of value in the long term, 3 to 5 to 10 years, we view layer 1 blockchains will essentially become like the new republics. These will be the new mechanisms where all the value is going to proliferate to the future. There'll be the layer 1 blockchain, there will be the mining market, there'll be the dApps, and there'll be tokens. So the lower you get in the stack, the lower risk you have, but the lower rewards. The highest risk reward will be on the layer 1 blockchain, because that's where all the value will flow up. But it's highest value, highest risk. We view layer 1 blockchains, which is Bitcoin, Syscoin, Ethereum, as court systems. They need to be combative to the external forces that we don't control, even in the software world. In the real world, like inflation, hyperinflation, wars, these systems need to be secure from that. And this is why we view Bitcoin as the gold standard for security and decentralization. What else does the world need? What else does the world cherish when you have something like Bitcoin? How can we extend that to something else where we can take advantage to build real world utility? This is where Ethereum comes in. For me, Ethereum is a gold standard for flexibility or general computation. We're trying to stick to the gold standards we know the world's going to cherish and develop on, and we put those two concepts together. And this is what Syscoin is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those that are not familiar, I am
that Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Jesus dude.
welcome, 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 welcome. Friday night fireworks. I brought the fire with me today. The gentleman you see on your screen right now is somebody who has helped mold me. I know many of you know me as Hotep Jesus, and you know me as being a Hotep. And Hotep is a term from ancient Kemet, aka ancient Egypt. And as I was studying or looking for sources of information, I found this guy to be the most paramount. We had, I lucked up, ran into him in New York City. We've been very close since. As many of you know, I've been talking about it recently. I spent 2 whole days with him last month. Can't tell you what we were working on, but, basically from sun up to sundown, I was with him for 2 whole days, and he was just pouring information into me. And I was telling you guys, when I went to him, he was basically replenishing my my Hotep levels, so to speak. Tonight's presentation is a very interesting one. I've been dealing with a lot of frustration watching many celebrities drift towards this Hebrew Israelite black Jew thing. We've seen this happen with Kendrick Lamar. We've seen this happen with Nick Cannon, even Kyrie Irving recently, and now we're seeing it happen with Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into, he sent me the slides. I have the slides here. We're going to just walk through this thing slowly. I want to start off with a question before we hop into the slides. And this is a question I asked another night, but I'd like the audience to hear his response to me in regards to this question. And basically I asked him, I said, why is it that all these celebrities are drifting towards this gnosis of black Jew when they have ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt there to claim, and everybody's just skipping that step? You teach history and chronology, you got to start at step 1, and step 1 is ancient Egypt, and everybody's just hopping to like step 12 or whatever it is. Ladies and gentlemen, on your screen right now, you see the foremost authoritarian, foremost mentor, teacher, and guru, Shakka Ahmose.
Well, hey, shout out to the Hotep Nation audience. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's an absolute honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all frustrated at this point. You know, I think we're all frustrated about this particular, I guess, travesty. It's a travesty on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really is. It's a travesty on so many different levels. And it's one that really doesn't have to be. However, unfortunately, and I think you're going to really appreciate this. I think part of the problem is the insular nature of the entertainment industry. It's very insular. And that insularity leads almost to a type of intellectual inbredness.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no heterogeneity there's no heterogeneous thought process that's coming through that is objective in nature. And so what you get are people indoctrinated. I prefer the term lost, but there are people who are lost in or indoctrinated in. I mean, they're actually synonyms, right? They really are. They're lost in and indoctrinated in ideologies that they themselves don't understand, which in and of itself is a very dangerous thing, right? It's kind of like why we tell our children don't talk to strangers, right? It's a perfect analogy. It's why we tell our children don't speak to strangers. And the main reason that you tell your children don't speak to strangers, other than the obvious, them being physically harmed or abducted or something of that nature, is at the very least, let's just go to the so-called least danger of having your children talk to strangers. You don't know what's going to come out of that stranger's mouth. And you have no way of vetting it. And so because of that, your child could come away with any strange notion that could inadvertently infect the rest of the body, the family, right? Any kind of harm could unfold because of this external influence, this external pervasive or predatory influence. And so when you think about having your children talk to strangers, the first word that should come to mind is predatory. And truthfully speaking, that's the first word that comes to mind when I think about the Bible. Predatory. It's something that's preying on your mind. And most people don't think of it in those terms. And the reason most people don't think of it in those terms is because they don't know the origin or the nature of the book, right? They don't know the origin and the nature of the literature. So, so because of that, it's, it's kind of like, we have all of these safeguards. We have all of these safeguards on our computers, on our phones, on our children's computers, our children's phones, so that harmful information can't get through, right? We didn't grow up with any such safeguards when we were growing up in the 60s and the 70s. There was nothing to protect us from the religious indoctrination that our parents exposed us to. And it's not as if they were in a scholarly position to break the cycle, so to speak. It's not as if they had access to the type of information that is readily available today. And so just like you have first generation money, right? You have a family lineage that is poor for centuries and centuries. And then at some point, someone in the family comes to a large, vast amount of money, whether it's a Jay-Z, a Kanye West, or whoever, right? It could be anybody, a Nicki Minaj. I'm just using these as names that people know because of the pervasiveness of the entertainment industry. It could be LeBron James, the boxer, I forget his name, the money team.
Floyd
right?
Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather. Right, so you got all this first generation money, right? And so many of us, what we represent, and this is kind of unfair to put us in that category. I want to say that we're like first generation knowledge, or historical knowledge. But that would be a lie and it would be false. We don't get to claim that distinction because we actually we emanate from generations before us who have been telling us and showing us the actual facts as they are on the ground. And those facts on the ground have not changed for 5,000 years. They haven't changed. The only thing that has changed and that has altered has been the narrative about the facts. And the only reason the narrative about the facts have changed and altered so much is, I'm gonna use an old colloquial term, is because certain individuals keep putting shit in the game, right? Certain individuals keep putting shit in the game, which eventually throws us off course. So it's like every time we get back on course, right? Psychologically, with respect to identity politics, every time we get back on course, there's always a leftover contingency that hasn't yet evolved that uses their influence to push us back off course with respect to identity politics of a historical nature, okay? And the Hebrew Israelite community is by far in the Black community at the forefront of that wind that continually blows us off course, okay? Some of the other aspects of identity politics are far easier to assess and to assail, such as right-wing thinking, conservative thinking, some of the things that people readily associate with the far right or the alt-right and things of that nature. Those things, when they are pronounced by Black people, can be misinterpreted and caricaturized as white think, when in fact they're not. Conservativeness did not begin when white people came on the planet. Conservativeness predates white people. It's older than white people, okay? Why do I say that? Just to use ancient Egypt as an example, ancient Egypt was a conservative civilization. That's why it lasted as long as it did, which should tell you something about conservatism and liberalism in modern times. That should tell you something about it. So, and there's a reason why they attempted, there's a reason why there was an attempt to conflate the Kemetic community with the alternative right, with the alt-right. There's a reason for that.
White conservatism.
Yeah, with white conservatism, right? And the reason for it is because there are values that are parallel or coincide or even shared. The sanctity of the family, mother, the parents and the children, mommy, daddy, children, mother, father, children, right? So there's that. There is acknowledgement, or what's the word? The supplication of God, right? The acknowledgement of God, the belief in God, the advocating or a God-based culture, right? Put it like that, a God-based culture, or a God-based worldview. That's even better, right? A God-based worldview. So, very similar views on sexuality, right? Both cultures and both value systems are staunch proponents of heterosexuality, right?
Yep.
And so there's, in fact, that was the main reason, that was the main catalyst that caused the homosexual Black community to conflate the Kemetic community with the alt-right. It was really just a smear campaign because they felt excluded from the culture and demonized within the culture, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should preclude us from being honest about what the catalyst was, which is unfortunate. But in any event, so those things are much easier to assess and to assail and to contextualize as opposed to the more ephemeral nature of historical identities, because so much of the identity politics as it pertains to antiquity and ancient history, because it is posited in in such a remote epoch of human history, it's very easy to make all kind of claims. It's very, very easy to make all kind of claims. It's as easy as going to the store and buying some hamburger buns, right? Or having them delivered, right? Foodcart.com, I think they call it, right? It's as easy as that. So, and so therefore, those of us who have a genuine interest and a genuine respect for ancient history, ancient civilizations, and their particular truths, whether it be ethnographic, in nature, whether it's advances or accomplishments or contributions, but even in that sense, I'm not one of these. How can I put it? I'm not one of these historian advocates who opt only for the redemptive side of these ancient civilizations. In other words, I always say, if you want to reclaim your history and if you want to wear the cloak of your historical identity, I think you have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you come away with a more comprehensive, true picture of what was what, right? And then you can resolve certain things within yourself. You can decide what you want to identify with or not. But I said all of that to say that in this journey that Black people, particularly in America, let's localize the discussion a bit, in the journey that Black people in America have been on since our arrival in this country, notwithstanding the pre-Columbian Black presence in America, notwithstanding that discussion, keeping it strictly in line with the transatlantic slave trade, right? Keeping it in line with that scope of history, Black people have had and still have unresolved historical identity issues.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? Unresolved historical identity issues.
Yeah.
And because that vacuum exists, many grifters and many opportunists, particularly certain type of opportunists that you really have to watch out for, what they do is they seek to fill that void with their own emotional understanding, and I put understanding in quotes, concerning who is who and what was what. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they inadvertently do is they end up putting their imprint on impressionable minds.
Yes.
Impressionable minds who don't know how to access legitimate sources of information. Impressionable minds who still have a lot of their own evolving to do and growing to do, so that they can really understand the necessity of particular types of conversations when you're having these discussions. Because if you don't understand the contours that a conversation like this should take and should unfold in, it's very easy for the discourse to go left when it should go right or straight ahead. And that's really unfortunate. And what that does, what it does is it makes our minds, as a collective, it makes our minds a breeding ground for other people's delusions of grandeur. You follow what I'm saying? And we have way too many examples in our history of that. I'll just give you an example. If you look into the Black population of America, what you will find is people who are still recovering, and many who are not recovering, but people who are still lost in the throes of the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple under Noble Drew Ali, or people who are still recovering from the false teachings of Elijah Muhammad, right, and the Nation of Islam as promulgated by Mr. Louis Farrakhan and his proteges like Dr. Wesley Muhammad out of Michigan State University, who mentioned my name in one of his publications. Thank you. Right? So, and who couldn't keep my name out of his mouth when he went on tour a few years back. He was in every Nation of Islam, and Shakka Ahmose, and Shakka Ahmose. I was like, oh my God. Like, really, dude? Where's Ma'adik Islam? So in any event, these people are something else, boy. But a lot of appropriation going on.
Go ahead, take a sip. Go ahead, take a sip of your drink if you need it. That. Yeah, let me hop into some super chats right here. Hold that thought.
I don't forget to put my Cash App on the link, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna take care of you.
That's what's up.
Markel, he said, just had to say, longtime fan of Shakka. Shout out to Markel. It's time for Church of Hotep. Oh yeah, Hotep, my friend Shakka. What are you drinking, good sir? They asking what you drinking. Okay,
I'll tell them. They want to know. It's let me see. What's the green stuff? The green stuff is kale. Is kale, dandelion greens, watercress, dates, a few different herbs like damiana, gotu kola, and ginseng, and I think turmeric, black pepper, and coconut milk, and organic banana. Yeah, so that's what's in it.
Nice. Yeah. Shout out to Broly McFarland, Hotep, my friends, Shakka, render unto Caesar. Said I read that one. Francisco Benchor, this interview was hot. Oh, you have no idea. We just getting warmed up. Mike Sinatra said, Shakka, how do you conquer Hotep rage? I tried showing our people, friends and family, the truth, but they don't listen. I have given up on them. Lost causes. Let me read these last super chats before you answer that, if you want to answer that. Forrest, Mommy, thank you. She said, good to see you back. Thank you. And Carmen Smith Studer with the big girl super chat.
I want my cut.
Don't worry. We take care of it. Don't even worry about that. Shakka Ahmose is, what is it? $ Shakka Ahmose, right? For Cash App?
I'll send it to you right now. Hey, bang.
Do you want to answer that question about the Hotep rage?
What was the question?
How do you conquer Hotep rage? I tried showing our people, friends and family, the truth, but they don't listen.
Hotep rage, I like that. Hotep, what is Hotep rage? Well, we have a new psychosis on the scene, John. It's called Hotep rage. It's Black people who are just tired of dumb Negroes refusing to accept facts. I really love that. How do you conquer Hotep rage? That is awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. That's really good. How do you conquer it? Well, to be quite honest, when Hotep Jesus mentioned that he spent 2 whole days with me about 2 weeks ago, I thought it was more than just 2 whole days. But if you say it was just 2, I thought it was about at least 2.5, 3 days.
It might have been 3.
Right. So
it was 3. That's right. It was 3. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if we were at liberty to discuss what we were working on, that's how I deal with it. I deal with it by taking the knowledge that I have and by infusing it in vehicles that are related to whatever talents or faculties that I have that allows me to share. Because here's why this is important. You have to remember that everyone does not consume information and data the same way, right? At least not effectively, okay? And so, and that's part of the reason why I'm working on the different types of projects that I'm working on, because I'm well aware of the fact that everybody in the Black community is not trying to read literature from antiquity. They're not trying to read ancient Egyptian literature. They're not even trying to read, look, even the Black Christians amongst us, they're not even trying to read the primary Christian literature from antiquity. They're not reading Larry Hurtado's work. They're not reading the work of actual New Testament scholars who deal with the ancient Christian literature. So they don't even know what's even being said about that literature. So it's not even the Hotep rage. I think to some degree or another that there's rage in all spheres of intelligentsia when the least informed amongst us want to speak the most authoritatively. And I think that we've had recent events like that unfold. You follow?
Yes.
I'm choosing my words carefully to follow your advice so I don't mention any names in an adverse way. But you know I really, really want to go in.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking of putting that thing back up because everybody's asking for it.
Oh, Lord.
They're like, Shakka, what happened? I'm like, look, I took it down because a confidant of mine said to take it down. But
got to.
So,
and I had spoken to my contact today too. He actually hit me up to talk about that. Wow. But anyway, yeah.
Okay. So that's how I deal with it. I deal with it by working on constructive projects that may get the message across in a more palatable way and in a more effective way than just me teaching or showing. Because again, everyone doesn't learn the same way, not effectively. You follow what I'm saying? So that's something you can do. You can engage in products that cause people to want to engage the information, because who doesn't like to be entertained? Mm-hmm. If you look at my music videos, most people know I'm a recording artist. And most of my music videos, when I first started, I used to always say, well, I'm not making a movie about ancient Egypt, but I could at least feature those aesthetics in all of my music videos so that it's not just a one-off, that people understand that this is the persona that I'm coming with in every video, because this is really what I'm about and this is who I am. So it's not a gimmick. You understand what I'm saying? This is who I am. In fact, this is who I am whether the camera's on or off.
That's true.
You know?
That's
so
true.
This, and that's the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I deal with it. Just by don't think I don't get frustrated. You can't even begin to imagine my frustration rivals the size of the Great Pyramid. All three of them. All three pyramids on the Giza Plateau doesn't even come close to my frustration. When I have to watch people tell people that, to your point, this Black Hebrews Anonymous. I think we need to start a program called Black Hebrews Anonymous. It's going to be a rehab. It's going to be a rehab for Black people who, in fact, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk.
We kind of touched on it earlier, but we didn't, the other night when we was on the phone, you didn't call it that. We was just.
Now, we're going to talk about it from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Real talk, right? Because you have a lot of Black people who are in recovery, but they just don't really have any place to go or anyone to talk to so they can make more informed decisions as it relates to identity politics. So let's just say this, right? One thing people need to understand about the whole Hebrew Israelite thing, right? That's just one psychosis, because we can use Islam as another psychosis. We could certainly use Christianity as the psychosis amongst all of them, right? So, let's just basically, so let me just say this from the outset. All right, I'm gonna get off of the academic jargon for a moment, and I'm just gonna speak plainly. Okay. Black people writ large throughout the West, this is not all, but the masses suffer from what I refer to strictly as a Bible psychosis. Okay? Black people in general, in the West and in Africa as well.
Mm-hmm.
Black people the world over, let's put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
The global community of Black people the world over suffer from a Bible psychosis.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter which of the Abrahamic religions you're speaking about, because they're all Bible psychoses.
Mm.
Whether it's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, it's all Bible psychosis. Okay? So that's problematic. That's really problematic. One of the most problematic things emanating from that psychosis, meaning it's a mental illness. A more colloquial way of saying it is that collectively our minds, but before I even say that, I have to say this. I'm pissed off that I'm even doing this interview.
Mm.
Why? How many times can I use profanity?
Yes.
How many times do I have to do the same fucking interview? Huh?
I mean, this is only like 135 maybe.
How many times do I have to do the same fucking interview? It's like people just, like it's not cool to listen or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as long as I've been teaching, I'm not stupid. Black people are all across the internet, and a lot of these Black celebrities have watched me over the years. I'm not stupid. So I know that they know. But why am I finding myself still giving the same fucking interview? Because the message is the same each time. Free your mind from that Bible.
Mm.
It's the same interview over and over again.
Mm.
Free your mind from the Bible.
The Holy Bible.
Ain't nothing holy about it. Okay? Free your mind from the Bible. And the only way you can free your mind from the Bible is becoming historically literate. Because the only people's minds who are trapped in the Bible are those persons who are historically illiterate, and who are illiterate in general, literarily illiterate. Okay, literarily illiterate. That's the worst kind of illiterate to be. When you are illiterate concerning the very literature that you claim to love and uphold. That's all I say when you meet Christians or Hebrews or Muslims, just ask them, and this is how you know that you're dealing with a cesspool of ignorance.
Mm.
All you have to do is just ask them 3 to 4 fundamental questions. And if they don't answer immediately, concisely, and accurately, and stand right there while you fact check them on your phone to pull it up, then don't pursue the discussion with them because they're fake and they're phony.
Mm.
They are believers. Okay? First rule of thumb, believers cannot teach you anything about their beliefs. That's the first rule of thumb. How are you going to teach me about something you yourself don't even understand?
Mm.
It's a backwards hustle. We're not going that route. Okay? But I really don't, I'm probably going to give this interview one more time, particularly when the complete PowerPoint is done. I'm going to give it one more time on my channel, Shakka Ahmose on YouTube.
Make sure y'all all his links in the box below. His courses, his link to his courses is in the box below, and his YouTube channel. Make sure y'all go subscribe.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Nahim. So, and definitely subscribe to my Cash App. That's what you could definitely subscribe to that.
Dollar
right?
sign Shakka Ahmose.
That's it. $ Shakka Ahmose. Right. So I just wanted to shout out I wanted to shout out my Cash App because she takes such good care of me. She buys me new books, takes me to the museums, all that stuff. Like, so I'm just joking around. But the reality of it is, again,
what are the 3 questions that you got to ask?
Oh, thank you. It's 3 to 4 questions, right?
Mhm.
And then look at the look on their face.
Mm.
Ask them, when exactly was the Bible written? When? Don't let them escape. Don't let them move to the left. Don't let them move to the right. And the only answer they're going to give you is, I don't know. Okay? Or they're going to give you some real bullshit answer that's a non-answer, like, it was written when Moses did. No, that's not, no, that's an escape hatch. I asked you for a date. Because when you're dealing with history is all dates. So you got to give me a date. When was the Bible written? When was the Bible written? Where was it written? What was the first Bible? And who wrote it?
Mm.
When was the Bible written? Where was the Bible written? What was the first Bible? And who wrote it?
Mm-hmm.
Now you could add more to that. The fifth one, which is the real ass kicker. Why did they write it?
Mm. Who, what, when, where, why, how?
Then you got to add the special one with the alien 6 fingers. Because that's the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
You always got to remember the most important part of the conversation is not what's being said, it's what's not being said.
Mm-hmm.
So number 6, where did they get the source material to write it?
Mm.
Now, if the person that you're talking to cannot answer these questions in a matter-of-fact way, why are you talking to them about it?
Mm.
Because all they're going to do is put on a performance for you as if they know what they're talking about. Is that what you showed up for, a performance?
Mm.
Is that what you require from them? If that's the case, you could just go watch old Jackson 5 videos. if it's a performance that you want, oh, ABC, easy, 1, 2, 3. I sample it, do, re, mi, ABC, 1, 2, 3, baby, you and me. I mean, that's what you want, a performance, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want answers. If you wanted answers, you would go to my Cash App, $sign Shakka.
Shakka Ahmose.
Y'all don't know this about me, but I'm a clown. So
It's going to be a lot of jokes. People are mentioning the Council of Nicaea.
Council of Nicaea is irrelevant.
Mm.
It's irrelevant. And this is exactly what I mean.
Mm.
Right? Why bring up the Council of Nicaea? What does the Council of Nicaea have to do with the Old Testament, so-called Old Testament? Nothing. What does the Council of Nicaea have to do with Judaism?
Mm.
Nothing. So why are you talking about the Council of Nicaea? See, that's that Hotep rage coming up in me right now. I have to let it smolder all the time. And it's just like, it's always smoldering right underneath, but I sit on it. I sit on it. Hey, look, I sit on it like a bad fart. Right?
Yeah.
But I never thought I would say something like that on air, but it was so apropos. Right? But I'm serious. Like why?
Yeah.
You know, why? Why, why mention things that don't have anything to do with what the hell we're talking about? I just asked how many questions? 6 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When was the Bible written? Where was the Bible written? Right? What was the first Bible? Right? Who wrote it? Right? What was the other one? I said, who?
Why?
Right? Oh, no. Why did they write it? Yes. Right? Why? And from where did they get the source material from?
Right.
What the hell does any of that have to do with the Council of Nicaea?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Mm.
Nothing. Right? So there's all kind of ways to approach the subject matter. Right? One of my favorite ways to approach the subject matter is to disarm people of their fantasies about the Bible. Okay? And one of the first ways to do that is to highlight certain things. And the first thing that needs to be highlighted is there is no such thing as the Bible.
Mm.
Okay? You have been conditioned to think that there is this one book called the Bible, and it's just been passed around to everybody. Here, we all gonna read from this one book. No such animal exists. What you have is a genre and a corpus of literature that should be appropriately referred to as biblical literature. Okay? This way, you're not confusing the Watchtower, or what is it, what do they call there? The Jehovah's Witness, I think it's the New American Bible they call it, the New World Translation. This way, you're not confusing the New World Translation with what's another Bible that people use a lot? With some Mormon Bible, and confusing that with some Latter-day Saint Bible, and confusing that with some Seventh-day Adventist text, and confusing that with, because none of these books agree on anything, but they all got the same title, the Bible. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? It's like, really? Right? So if you look at, different people use different, some people say, well, different people use different Bibles. Well, if there's different Bibles, then there's no, okay, so basically you belong to a religion that has a whole bunch of different books that all go by one name. And that makes sense to you. Now make that make sense to me. Make that make sense to me. I'm down. I mean, it can make sense depending on how you look at it. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? But if you do that, then that's probably going to end up snitching on the Bible and telling you something about the Bible that you don't want to confess to. Because the only other literature I can think of like that is the eschatological literature of ancient Egypt. Right? So you'll have a book called the Petit Imheru, right? But if you go from one Petit Imheru to the next, or the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, if you go from one Book of the Dead to the next Book of the Dead, they're all called the Petit Imheru or the Book of the Dead, but they don't all say the same thing. So you got a bunch of different books by one name dealing with one subject matter, right? So maybe that should tell you something about the relationship of this literature, right? Something many people don't want to admit to, that there might be a relationship between this literature that that deconstructs the fallacies held by the believers in biblical literature. Okay? So, at the end of the day, the facts don't care about your feelings, and neither do I. So that let me just put that out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a Bible psychosis. There's a Bible psychosis running rampant throughout the Black community. And recent events with Adidas, Def Jam Records, I'm not naming any names, but recent events with Adidas, Def Jam Records, Vogue Magazine, and a few other companies, quite a few other companies. And I'm not laughing at someone's misfortune at all. I think that those kind of resources in the hands of someone with a sound mind could do a lot of good. And that's the real travesty. That's the real travesty, at least from our external understanding. Because until you're looking at the fine print on the contracts, if you pardon the pun, none of us can, most of us, we can only surmise what's going on. So when we're judging it, I'm looking at it at face value. At face value, it's a travesty because that's a lot of resources. $2 billion is a lot of resources. And in the hands of someone with a sound, well-informed mind concerning these subject matters, oh, that money could have did a whole lot of good. Those resources could have did a whole lot of good, which is part of my Hotep rage when I see wealthy people from the Black community, particularly entertainers, who do not invest in our direction. And a lot of it has to do with ego. A lot of it has to do with ego. I'm trying not to name names, but it's almost impossible not to really get the most out of this conversation without naming names. So I'm going to ask the host, do I have your permission to name some names?
They know who you're talking about.
No, but I'm saying some other names.
Sure.
Other than, can I name some other names?
Sure.
Okay. You know, okay, I won't even name this person's name. But to have a show called Wild and Out, I didn't say any names. And then to have another show where you're teaching and to be to speak with such bravado and surety about who Black people are in their relationship to Judaism, and then 10 minutes later, you're apologizing with a rabbi sitting across the table checking you. It's like you basically, you make Black people look stupid. And my question is, how long do Black people have to sit back and say nothing? Are we obligated to say nothing? Are we obligated to say nothing? Or should we say nothing because of pipeline business aspirations we may want to have with some of these individuals? And I think at some point, with all due respect, without saying fuck them, you have to say fuck what they're talking about. And here's why.
Absolutely.
Fuck what they're talking about, and here's why. I'm not saying fuck them.
Right.
I'm saying fuck what they're talking about, and here's why. So, give me a question. Give me a question or two.
So we know you're talking about Nick Cannon. And
I didn't say it. You did. You did. I didn't say Nick Cannon. I never said Nick Cannon. Never did I use the words Nick or Cannon. Never did I use the words Nick, I'm a Jew, Cannon. Or Nick, I can't be an anti-Semite because I'm a Jew, Cannon.
Yeah.
I never said that.
Yeah.
I never said that. So don't put those words in my mouth. I did say them on my channel, but I didn't say it in this interview. Okay?
We know you're talking about Nick Cannon, but I think this is a good point for us to segue into the slides.
But I'm not just talking about Nick Cannon.
It's more people.
I'm also talking about Fantasia, who I love. Yeah, she needs to be called out too. Fantasia, whom I love, went to your concert in Florida, was blown away, right? But yeah, but I mean, when I say that we got a pretty large task of people to call to task, we do. I mean, there needs to be, I'm actually going to feature that in this PowerPoint when it's done. I'm going to put as many celebrities as I can find, Black celebrities, who identify themselves as Hebrew Israelites. And they need to be called to task because you have large platforms and you have a lot of influence. And there's enough confusion in the Black community about basic things we don't have to be confused about without you guys using your platform to miseducate people with the miseducation you've been saddled with. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. So it recently came to my attention that Fantasia has identified herself as a Hebrew Israelite. So let me just say this so that we can enter into this discourse on the same page. There are different ways that people come to this understanding that Black people are the Hebrew Israelites, the Jews, right? The 10 lost tribes of Israel, right? 12 tribes of Israel, 10 of which are purportedly lost, right? 2 which remain. And some college dropout rapper who had an album called College Dropout, I'm not naming no names, recently said that Black people are the descendants of the 12 lost tribes of Judah. Let me just state for the record right now, if you're not going to study the history of the subject matter you're talking about, please don't use silly terms like that. There's no such thing as lost tribes of Judah. There are no 12 lost tribes of Judah. Okay? Okay, just be clear on that.
Can
The
you
lost
clarify that?
Okay. The 12 tribe paradigm refers to the tribal makeup of the occupants of Israel. Okay. The offspring of Abraham. And mind you, let's keep in mind, this is a fictional story. It's a fictional, what's the word I'm looking for?
Folktale?
Sure. I mean, there's a better term for it actually, and I'll find out what it is. But we can call it
Novel?
we can call it an ethno-archetype.
Okay.
Okay? It's a fictional ethno-archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna write that down. Excuse me. I come up with good shit all the time because it makes sense.
I like
Right?
that. I like that.
Yeah. You know, but that's what it is. It's a fictional ethno-archetype. Archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So most people don't understand what the whole story is about, what it's actually about. Okay. The whole story of Israel and Abraham and Jacob, Isaac, and Elijah. I think it's Elijah, the other one. But in any event, the thing that you need to understand about it is that African Americans come to this faux identity understanding through one of two or three avenues, right? The first avenue that they come to this understanding is post-slavery. When the end of American slavery came about, when the slaves were freed, there was a contingency of Christians, Black slave Christians, and there weren't many of them. All right? People tend to think that the slaves on the plantations were Christians. Very small number. Very small number. Right? But within that small number, when slavery ended, you had a contingency of these slaves who chose to appropriate the Hebrew identity for themselves because of the sojourn of slavery they had just come through. And so they identified themselves with that slave experience talked about in the Bible referencing Egypt and the Hebrew Israelites. And what they did was, in identifying themselves with that story, they deemed themselves Hebrew Israelites spiritually. Okay, or Hebrews spiritually. Spiritual Hebrews. And that understanding has also found its way into Black churches, right? And so that's one avenue. Okay. Another avenue is through, and there's a particular community, by the way, that came out of that experience, these Hebrews. And what happened, I don't quote me on this, but what it appears that some of those spiritual Hebrews that came out of that slave experience here in America, these are Black people who are not Hebrews, but appropriated the biblical identity for themselves because of the slave experience. There was a contingency that came out of that experience who sought to objectify the identity, to make it real. Okay? And it was these persons who began an extra biblical search to be able to establish the Hebrew identity of Black people. And the greatest weapon ever produced to assert those false claims was a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu. Stay as far away from that book as you possibly can. It will damage your mind. It will damage your mind badly. Okay? And the reason for it is what it does, it's put together in a very insidious way. It takes a lot of biblical proclamations and it marries it to historical events, which is a very precarious thing to do. Because in essence, what you're attempting to do is you are attempting a number of things. One of the things that you're attempting to do is you're attempting to validate the biblical narrative. That in and of itself is, what the fuck are you doing? Right? So one of the things it's establishing is trying to validate the biblical narrative. The second thing that it's seeking to do is it's seeking to appropriate the identity of the Hebrew element in the Bible, and it's an attempt to impose it upon or confer it upon Africans in Africa. So if you could do that by virtue of the literature in From Babylon to Timbuktu, which speaks about Jews being expelled from Rome, being taken into Africa, then being dispersed amongst the different tribes, and then those tribes, because they were dispossessed amongst the native peoples, then being sold into slavery and coming to America, and therefore that's us. It's a very convoluted, discombobulated, convoluted is actually better. It's a very convoluted false narrative. Very convoluted false narrative. And so this is what many people have bought into. But you know what I love, Hotep? I love when they try to go scientific about it to prove it, because that's when they get smacked in the face with facts.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's when they get smacked in the face with facts, and then they get quiet and they don't say anything. Right? So I just wanted you to keep that in mind, that there are those Hebrews there are those Black so-called Hebrews who consider themselves spiritual Hebrews because of what happened at the end of slavery and that appropriation of the Hebrew identity that these ex-slaves conferred upon themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And then the contingency that came out of that sought to objectify it, okay? So that's where you get the foundation of the modern narrative that Black people are the Hebrews of the Bible. Now, saying that, let's say this, and this is putting the cart before the horse. This idea that Black people are the Hebrew Israelites. Why? You have to consider the fact that, when you go to court or there's a trial, what is the first thing that the prosecutors want to establish to prove guilt? I'm asking a question.
Well, they're gonna need a discovery, and they're gonna need some evidence.
What is the first thing that prosecutors try to establish or try to prove? Motive. Thank you. Motive. Mm-hmm. So you have to ask yourself, why are you telling me that you're a Hebrew Israelite as a Black person? What is your motive? Your motive stems from your Bible psychosis. It stems from your relationship with the Bible. Therefore, in this equation, it's the Bible that takes precedence over any assertion about who you may or may not be. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
What I just illustrated for you?
Yeah.
Right? So basically, you're putting the Bible at the core of your identity. If you're putting the Bible at the core of your identity, but you don't know anything about the ancient world, you don't know who wrote it, where it was written, when it was written, why it was written,
The source material.
right, what was the source material, right? So forth and so on. If you don't know these things, is that so? You have to make it make sense that you would predicate your identity, or you would establish your identity predicated on a book which you virtually know nothing about.
Yeah.
You know nothing about it. Let me give you an example. If I walked up to a junior high school person, a child in kindergarten, if a child in kindergarten sees the movie Harry Potter, right? Children are impressionable. Harry Potter's going to be in their imagination. But if I ask that child about J.K. Rowling's, the child's going to look at me like, who? Right?
Yeah.
So for the child, Harry Potter is real. Why? Because the child has heavily invested themselves in the narrative and cannot make the distinction between the narrative and the true nature of the book. So if I ask that child, well, what do you think about the publishing company that put this book out? The child's going to be like, the what? And this is the same exact scenario that you get with grown Black people about the Bible. It's no different. They're heavily invested in the narrative, unable to make the distinction between the narrative and the actual history of the book. That's very dangerous. Because what it will do is it will take weak, impressionable minds and it will immerse them and incarcerate them in a literary psychosis, a Bible psychosis. It's very dangerous. And then these persons will come away with what I call many, not all, but many will come away with a triple layered psychosis. So now you have a psychosis inside of a psychosis inside of a psychosis inside of a psychosis.
Mm.
That's why the mind is incarcerated.
It's like Inception.
Right, exactly. Perfect analogy. So why do I say that? What is the triple layered psychosis? Well, investment of your belief in this Bible, depending on your personality type, because we all have different personality types. And depending on your personality types and your ways and means and ambition, your resources that you have at your disposal, it's very easily to come to the conclusion because of identity. Remember, it's identity politics we're talking about. Because of something you identify with in the narrative, it's very easy to come away with what's called a Messiah complex. Look it up. And it's problematic when you're 9 times out of 10, that Messiah complex, if it's biblically based, is going to come out of a Jesus complex. And Jesus is identified with who? Hotep?
Who's he identified with?
Yeah. Starts with a G.
G-O-D?
Yes.
Mm.
God. So now you have a Messiah complex, a Jesus complex, and a God complex. All three combined. Like I said, a psychosis within a psychosis within a psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible is a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing, especially when you put it in the hands of minds incapable of thinking and navigating outside of it, about it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, imagine being in a house, right? Imagine you're an abused child. This is a really good analogy. Imagine you're an abused child and you're kept in the basement, and when your parents go to church, because these church people always got abused children stuck in the basement, right? Somewhere. So I'm not joking because that's not funny. But that was funny, but it wasn't funny, right? Yeah. The slight was not against the abused child; it was against church people in their psychoses.
Mm-hmm.
So, imagine this child coming up out of the basement when the parents go to church, right? So the child knows what the house looks like. It sees the bathroom. It goes into the different bedrooms. It tries to sneak food out of the fridge, right? Out of the closets, whatever, and then goes back in the basement before they get home. So that child knows what the house looks like, right? Actually, wrong. The child does not know what the house looks like. Why? Because if you take that same child and you blindfold them and you put them in a car and you drive for about 2 hours, when you drive back to the house and you're out in front of the house, when you pull off the blindfolders of that child, will that child recognize the house?
No.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Because it never saw the outside of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And because it didn't see the outside of the house, it didn't have a full picture of what it was trying to describe.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it had really, you can't even say it had a wrong idea about the outside of the house. It had what?
No idea.
No idea about the outside of the house. Those are Christians. Those are Black Christians in church, so the church-going people. They have no idea about the outside of the house. They only know the inside. They're abused children kept in the basement that come up every now and then and look around. They know the house, and that's the truth.
Let's hop
You
into.
really couldn't get a better analogy than that. That's why I was like, the hell with the slides. Let's just go off rip.
Nah, I want to go into these slides because these slides
sure.
is hard body. This first one right here, it says.
Hopefully, I can see it too. You're on what, slide 1?
Yeah, slide 1.
All right,
Pull up
cool.
slide 1.
All right, give me 1 second. Okay, cool. Oh,
It's blacks, and it has the menorah there. Did I say that right?
Yes.
It has the menorah there, and it says Jews or not, and it has some images here. Why did you choose these images and all of this?
Oh, you're asking me? Yeah, or somebody asking you, or are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, so you're asking me why I chose those images?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
is it just plain because it needed a cover, or is there something symbolic here?
No. I chose those images specifically.
Okay.
Right? For a reason.
Yeah.
So the main reason I chose these images is, so if you look at the brother all the way on the left with the shawl over his head and his hand right under his chin.
Right.
And he has the greenish yarmulke on.
Yeah.
That is a member of the Beta Israel community, or otherwise known as the Falasha Jew from Ethiopia. Okay? And so the one in the middle is an African Jew who comes from a group of people in Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, in the Zimbabwe region, called the Limba people. Okay? And to his left, our right, right, so I don't know if I said it, so initially, all right, so initially the Falasha Jew is on our left. In the middle is the Limba Jew, and all the way to our right is the Igbo Jew of Nigeria.
Right.
Okay? So we're looking at Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria.
Okay.
And these are 3 sets or groups of Black people who self-identify as Hebrew. Okay? And in modern parlance, Hebrew is conflated with Jew. So therefore, that is the cultural and ethno identity that these people project of themselves to the world.
Okay.
Okay? And now, why did I choose them? I chose them because, if you remember, I said earlier, part of the thrust of establishing Blacks as Jews is to, especially Black Americans, is to go into Africa and find Jews that are still there. You follow?
Yep.
And so these three peoples have had that epithet, Jew, affiliated with them, associated with them, and we're going to look at whether or not if they are who they claim to be. And we are going to, and this is important because when you have American Africans, or African Americans as you call them, when you have African Americans proclaiming that African Americans are Jews and the descendants of the blood of Christ and all of this other silliness, you know, you have to be able to challenge them right where they stand, right? Like the conversation is nothing to run away from. Why? Because you have the facts on your side. It's that simple. So what I did was about an hour or so before we started this, about 2 hours before we started this, I decided to put this together so we could take a look at some things just to get the ball rolling. This is just a sample of what the rest of the PowerPoint is going to look like.
Right.
Okay? So let's go to slide number 2 so that we can begin to discuss things of an important nature concerning these liars.
Okay.
Okay? And I realized that I have to, look, let me say this. The reason why I'm tired of doing this fucking interview, the same interview over and over again, is I have other things I would much rather be doing and working on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Things that will really propel us forward in this area of historical identity.
Mm.
And I have to stop important work that really no one else is doing that I'm aware of. I have to stop important work just to come deal with a fairy tale that Bible brains in our midst cannot get beyond.
Yeah.
Right? They are so stuck. And remember, like I said, what was the motive for you claiming you were Hebrew? The motive is because you need to own the story in the Bible. And you feel that as long as you can own that story in the Bible, you have therefore accomplished something. Mm. Now, first of all, if you understood the history of the Bible and the claims being made in the Bible, you might not want to associate yourself with those fabled Hebrew characters.
Uh-oh.
Why would you want to associate yourself with a culture that is steeped in plagiarism?
Mm.
Why would you want to identify yourself with a culture that is basically a hand-me-down, knock-me-off version of things that came prior to? Mm. It's not as if any of the claims made by the Hebrews in the narrative are true or right and exact or are historically plausible. So what is the point? There can be no other point of identifying with these people other than you coveting a hallowed sacred place in that narrative for yourself. In other words, it's a larger version of the Jesus complex. It's Black people's need to place themselves at the center of that story.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that's the motive.
Right, that is the motive, right? Now, truthfully speaking, Black people are at the center of that story, but not in the way that these Hebrew Israelites want you to think.
Okay.
Okay? And so what we're going to do is, I find it best to, because they're using African ethnicities who claim the identity of Jewish or Jew, right? Or a Judaic identity, right? Let's put it like that. Because they are claiming this, I find it best to let's do it on a case-by-case basis. We start with the limba, then we move to the Igbo, and then we're going to move to the Falasha. Now, unfortunately, even though I have some work done on the Falasha already, it's in one of my PowerPoints that's buried that I did a long time ago. So I have to either go look for it or update it. So we won't be dealing with the Falasha in this one, but we are going to look at the first two, the Limba and the Igbo, particularly the Igbo, because the Igbo are in West Africa. So, and there were many Igbos that were basically caught up in the Atlantic slave trade. So people will be looking to establish that connection between African Americans and the Igbo people of Nigeria, okay? In fact, that connection has always been written about, that many of the people who came across the transatlantic slave voyages were Igbo people. So if you can prove that the Igbos were Jews, then what does that make us?
Makes us Jews.
It makes us descendants of Jews, right? So we're going to look and see what is said about the Limba, who are in Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, and then we're going to look at the Igbo. So let's go ahead and do that.
All right, I have that slide up here. Limba origins revisited, tracing the ancestry of Y chromosomes in South African and Zimbabwean Limba.
Okay, now, one of the things that I did not put up here, which I should have, so you know what, I'm gonna send you a link first. I'm gonna let you put it on the screen.
Okay.
Before we even touch on that. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
All right.
Let me read some super chats in the meantime. This argument will never end because the first failure is trying to interpret metaphysical texts with. Shout out to Project Rook in the building. The Hood Haitian 305, he said, please tell them Hebrew Haitians are not part of the Levi tribe. We've been free since 1804 and our voodoo.
Oh God, please do me a favor. Don't read stupid shit while I'm here. Just don't do that. Don't read no Hebrew Israelite comments. Not while I'm here. When I'm gone, you could do that. I don't have no tolerance for the dumb shit.
Jonah
Let
Ryan.
them motherfucker. I want to go through my day without hearing anything stupid coming out of the mouth of a Hebrew Israelite.
Nah, he was saying something against him. Jonah Ryan, first commandment, destroy the need for church. Jonah Ryan, Freemason Bacon rewrote the King James version. Yeah, I did hear that. Brody asked about the lock. You gotta go on his channel and get that information. We're not gonna make him rehash that. Hood Haitian 305, he said Haitian, Cuban, Brazilian, voodoo equals knowledge itself. I appreciate y'all supporting the channel. Make sure y'all drop them super chats, questions. We'll get to them. How are you gonna send the link? Are you gonna send it to me on Zoom?
I just sent it. Oh, how do you want it? I sent it. Oh,
that's fine. No, it's fine. I can grab it right here.
All right, cool.
I can grab it right here.
Yeah, I just remembered I could have put it in the chat.
That's no problem.
There you go. It's in the chat.
All right.
Right.
All right. I'll pull it from the chat. Click that. Come back here. Let's open that. Go here. All right. So on my screen now we have the origins of the Limba Black Jews of Southern Africa, evidence from P12F2 and other Y chromosome markers. Okay, what are we looking at on this page?
All right, so the most important thing to know about this particular study, right? Hold on 1 second. Is it open? Yeah, here it is right here. The most important thing to know about this study is when the study, hold on. Right. When this study was made, this study was made in 1996.
Right.
Okay. Does it have a date on here? I'm looking for it.
November 5th,
1996.
1996.
Yes. Now, if you go to the abstracts and you read the very last sentence, could you read it out loud?
It says these Y-specific genetic findings are consistent with Limba oral tradition and analysis of the history of Jewish people and their association with Africa indicates that the historical facts are not incompatible with theories concerning the origin of the Limba.
So stop. Now, why did I bring that up? I brought that up because if you read the 1996 study like you just read, right, which many have done, they will think that that was the last word. that, oh, what the Limber said about themselves is true because this Y chromosome study proved it, right? The problem with what people have to remember about science is that science constantly updates. It constantly updates, right? So that's a 1996 study.
Right.
What you need to do is you need to go to the 2020 study.
Oh boy.
Okay, that's what you need to do. So that's the one that you will look at. You can put back on the screen that you had a few moments ago.
Yes.
Right? Because
okay. This is the
right.
Or the one on the slide.
The one. Go to slide number 2.
Yeah, it's 2013.
Right. Okay. So this is 2013.
Yeah.
Okay, 2013. I thought it was 2020, but whatever. That's fine. So the 2013 study said not so fast. Okay. 2013 study said not so fast. Now this is from the National Center for Biotechnology, the National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health. So we're talking about science. Okay. So let's go to slide 3.
Okay. Let me pull that up.
Pull that up, please. Because we're going to read it.
Uh-oh.
Okay?
All right. It's on the screen now.
Okay. The abstract, the background, they're going to reference the 1996 study. What do they say? Previous historical, anthropological, and genetic data provided overwhelming support for the Semitic origins of the Limba, a Bantu-speaking people in Southern Africa. So, hey, you know, Nick Cannon and his friend Kanye West get really excited about that. I said his name. I had to say it. I couldn't hold it in, right? Objective. So what is the objective of the study? To revisit the question concerning genetic affinities between the Limba and the Jews, right? Models, Y chromosome variation were examined in 2 Limba groups, one from South Africa, and for the first time, a group from Zimbabwe, the Rimba, to reevaluate the previously reported Jewish link. So previously in the 96 study, they said there was a Jewish link between the Limba and the people of Israel, okay? The results, a sample of 261 males, 76 Limba, 54 Rimba, 43 Vinda, 88 South African Jews, was initially analyzed for 16 biallelic and 6 short tandem repeats, STRs that resulted in the resolution of 102 STR haplotypes distributed across 13 haplogroups. The non-African component in the Limba and Rimba was estimated to be 73.7% and 79.6% respectively. Now that would make you think, oh, wow, they almost had that chromosome was almost 80% non-African. So perhaps they are Jews, right? That's what you're thinking. In addition, a subset of 91 individuals, 35 Limba, 24 Rimba, 32 South African Jews with haplogroup J were resolved further using 6 additional biallelic markers and 12 STRs to screen for the extended Colton model haplotype, or the CMH. Although 24 individuals, 10 Limba and 14 South African Jews were identified as having the original CMH, 6 STRs, only 1 South African Jew harbored the extended CMH conclusions. This is the most important part of the article. People pay attention. While it was not possible to trace unequivocally the origins of the non-African Y chromosomes in the Limba and Rimba, could you read the last part out loud?
It says, this study does not support the earlier claims of their Jewish genetic heritage.
Read that one more time, please.
Read that one more time. This study does not support the earlier claims of their Jewish genetic heritage.
Okay, so with that, we're going to send that report to Adidas. I'm just saying. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please.
All right, that's number 4, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna pull number 4 up on the screen right now.
Let me know when you're there.
All right. All right.
So we're gonna stop with the bullshit. Okay. We're going to stop with people thinking that because they got billions of dollars, they could just jump out with a fucking microphone and be right. So, okay, so you got money. I looked in the dictionary under correct. It did not say money. Money and correct are not synonyms.
Yeah.
I understand that we love it. I understand most of us worship money. I get it.
Yeah.
Look, I totally get it. But truth is truth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the dictionary under truth. Look at a thesaurus and tell me if truth and money are synonymous.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
If they're synonyms.
It's not gonna happen.
Okay. All right. So I think we need to buy some of these people thesauruses, right? So, do you have the slide up?
It is up. It's on the screen now.
Okay, great. So as you can see, the limba, this study does not support the earlier claims of their Jewish genetic heritage. What does that mean, people? What that means is that it was some bullshit. Okay? That's what that means. The limba of South Africa are not Jews. And if you read the article further, what it tells you is that there is a much greater likelihood that the non-African Semitic, Asiatic markers in their DNA stem from Arab rule in those regions from particular eras that are much closer to modern times than some antiquitous Hebrew story. Read the article, do your research, do your homework, stop saying stupid things. That is your Christmas gift to Shakka. Stop saying stupid shit. The Limba are not Jewish, according to the scientific literature. Now, we got to discuss this scientific literature for a minute because it poses a problem. Okay? Well, we can discuss that afterward. All right? So as you can see, it clearly says this study does not support the earlier claims. It is specifying the 96 study. It does not. Nick Cannon, do you hear me? Nick, somebody get Nick on the phone. Sarah, could you get Nick on the phone, please? Mr. Cannon, and have Nick Cannon contact Kanye and Fantasia and let them know that the Limba of South Africa are not Jewish. Are we clear on that?
Yeah, we clear.
Hotep Jesus, are we clear on that?
I believe we're clear, sir.
Now, what you're going to find is that there's nothing you can say to believers that will make them clear.
Right.
They have a much stronger relationship with beliefs than they do with facts.
Right.
Documentation. So you just got to accept the fact that everybody ain't going to make it, and some people just got to be left out in Jewish fantasy land. Okay? That's the best I can tell you. So now that is established, we've taken their menorah away from them. That's another thing. Limba, no more menorah. You can have menorah, but you can't have menorah. Okay? That was good. That's to the limba. Okay? You can have menorah, but no menorah. Menorah belongs to the Jews. Give that back to the Jews. Give that back to them. Okay. All right? Stop stealing people's shit. Okay? People always, they accuse black people of being thieves. Stop stealing people's shit. Like, give them their shit back. That menorah is not yours, you fake ass Yo, Limba. She call you the lying limbers. Ladies and gentlemen, the lying limbers.
Oh okay? My God. Yeah.
The limbers are not Jewish. So let's stop that.
Okay.
In fact, we're going to go confiscate all of their passports and stamp not Jew on the passport. Okay? That is literally what we are going to do.
Yeah.
Are you down?
Yeah. We're
gonna go in there in our black army fatigues. We're gonna shimmy down the rope from the airplane like a Mission Impossible. It's gonna be like a big adventure. They're gonna be like, "What are you guys here for?" We're here to confiscate Limba passports and stamp not Jewish on them. Right? And then underneath it is small print. It's gonna say scientific fact. Okay? Okay. So stop telling Limba. Stop telling Limba lies. No more Limba lies. We're going to protest. We're going to have signs outside the Limber, the Limber ambassador, the Limber diplomatic house of D.C. No more Limber lies. No. Right. Stop trying to steal Jewish identity, you fakers. Okay. All right. So we've established that. Now let's move on to the next one.
Next slide.
Right, yeah. What is the next slide?
Number 5. Let me see here.
That's number 5. Okay,
Yeah.
I can see that. That's gonna be fun. Hold on one second. Number 5. Let's look. Who's number 5? Number 5. Please step down. Okay. Uh-oh. We're at number 5.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So number 5 deals with the limber. Okay? That's what number 5 deals with. Number 5 deals with the limber.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just laughing because I'm sorry, not the limber, the Igbo.
Igbo, right.
Okay? Number 5 deals with the Igbo of West Africa, of Nigeria, which is the African group that many people have tried to, and I'm not saying that many of us don't come from the Igbo. I think that would be a silly argument to make, right? There's no reason to think that we don't come from the limber.
The Igbo.
The Igbo. Thank you. I keep, and look, you confuse. It's these fakers. It's very easy to confuse them. Okay, it's like which faker is next. You know what I mean? So it's like shaking people down at a Halloween party. It's like, who's under that mask?
An episode of Scooby Doo and shit.
It's like, yeah, it's like episode of Scooby Doo, exactly. Well put, my brother. Well put. Okay, so now we're going to deal with the Igbo. Now I'm very particularly fond of this article because it's published by Cambridge University. You ever heard of Cambridge?
Yeah, I believe that's out of England, right?
Absolutely. So we're not talking about York Community College in Queens. We're not talking about the Borough Manhattan Community College or your local community college in Idaho or Nebraska. Okay? We're not talking about that. All right? Your local 2-year community college. This is Cambridge University scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Not scholar shit. Not Hebrew Israelite scholar shit. This is scholarship from Cambridge University. All right? As a matter of fact, if you look in the corner on the article, you'll see the symbol for Cambridge. I don't know why I didn't put that on here. I should have had that up here. But it says it in the title right here. Published online by Cambridge University Press.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's read would you do us the honors? Would you please read from the top?
Absolutely. Hold on, let me just adjust my... Okay, so you want me to read on the right-hand side here?
Very quickly, I just want to let people know. This article is published in a journal, an academic journal called Nationalities Papers, and it's published by Cambridge University Press. Okay? That's why you're finding it at cambridge.org. Okay? So I just wanted to put that out there. This is real scholarship, not scholar shit. Okay? All right, would you please read from the top?
So it says Jewishness without Jews, ? Ontological security, ethno-nationalism, and the social power of analogical reasoning in post-colonial Nigeria, published online by Cambridge University Press, August 18th, 2022.
There you go.
Okay.
Carry on.
Why do Igbo nationalists subscribe to the view that Igbos are one of the lost tribes of Israel and thus descend from Jewish people despite evidence against such genealogical and cultural ties?
Despite what?
Despite evidence against...
Despite evidence. Despite evidence.
Despite evidence against such genealogical and cultural ties.
Would you please read that one more time for Nick Cannon?
Why do Igbo nationalists subscribe to the view that Igbos are one of the lost tribes of Israel and thus descend from Jewish people, despite evidence against such genealogical and cultural ties?
Okay, now I need you to read that one more time for Kanye. Come on, bro. We love him.
Why do Igbo nationalists subscribe to the view that Igbos are one of the lost tribes of Israel and thus descend from Jewish people, despite evidence against such genealogical and cultural ties?
Okay, stop. I'm going to read it one more time for Fantasia. I'm not going to put all the heavy lifting on you. Why do Igbo nationalists subscribe to the view that Igbos are one of the lost tribes of Israel and thus descend from Jewish people? Despite, go look up the word despite, Fantasia. Ask Nick Cannon to show it to you while Kanye is still trying to figure out what we're talking about. Despite evidence against such genealogical and cultural ties. Would you please carry on?
Okay. It says this problematic is largely underexplored in the copious literature on ethno-nationalist agitations in Nigeria. Drawing on ontological security theory.
Stop right there. I want you to remember that term. Ontological security theory.
Mm-hmm.
Ontological security theory. I'm going to say it one more time. We're going to teach this to Kanye, to Nick, and Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
Ontological security theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Please go on.
I contend that Igbo nationalists employ the analogy of Jewishness to posit the Igbo as a unique ethno-religious and ethno-racial group whose identity is under existential threat in post-colonial Nigeria and to draw global attention to their separatist cause.
So stop. So he just basically said they use the identity, or they employ the analogy of Jewishness to posit what? The Igbo as a unique ethno-religious and ethno-racial group whose identity is under existential threat in post-colonial Nigeria, and to draw global attention to their separatist cause. In other words, it's a political strategy in order to give themselves a greater value than those which they surround in their immediate environment. So please continue.
So he basically identified the motive there.
Right.
Like you were talking about earlier. Okay.
Exactly.
Further, I argue that although belief in the similarities between Jews and Igbos predates post-colonial Igbo nationalism, there are scores.
Stop for a second. I'm going to show you exactly what he's talking about. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to show you what he's talking about.
Okay.
Put me on the screen for a second. I want to show you something.
All right.
All right.
You're on.
Tell me when I'm on. Am I on?
You're on.
All right. They're talking about bullshit like this. This is an original copy of. Can you read that title?
Hebrewisms of West Africa.
Exactly. This is the old text. So when he's talking about beliefs that predate the colonial period of Africa, when they're discussing the similarities between the Igbo culture and the Jewish culture, you have to understand when these parallels were first surmised, right? And given credence. It was before Nigeria gained its freedom, right? It was during the colonial period when white people were doing what's called ethno surveys, basically exploring Black people. I was going to use the N-word, but out of respect for Roland Martin, I decided not to. So, shout out to Roland Martin. You can't be in Black media and be scared. I love when he says that. Can't be in Black media and be scared, right? So I just wanted you to see that. So let's get back to the article.
All right. Okay.
So further,
I argue that although belief in the similarities between Jews and Igbos predates post-colonial Igbo nationalism, there are scores of racialist writings advanced by European colonizers in pre-colonial times to undermine African cultures.
Read that last part again. There are scores
of racialist writings advanced by European colonizers. Whoa. In pre-colonial times to undermine African cultures. Oh,
let me break that down. So what that means, Hotep Jesus, is that they saw things amongst the Africans that they felt that native Africans would not be doing and should not be doing according to their stereotype of us. And so therefore, whenever they found behavior or activity that mirrored or paralleled what they were familiar with as it relates to Jewish culture, they would make up stories to undermine the culture and attribute the credit for those things to Jews. And so therefore, these people are not Africans, they are Jews. That was how they would undermine the African culture. You understand?
Yes.
Attribute the credit to Jews, and these people must therefore be Jews and somehow got here through whatever Babylon and Timbuktu claimed. Okay,
It's a divisive mechanism.
right. So, well, not just divisive, but it's a way to divest the African peoples and cultures of their own expressions,
Right.
and because these expressions and ideas did not come across as rudimentary or savage or barbaric, they read the next sentence and they're going to tell you what, how they dealt with that.
You talking about at the so-called Hamitic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The so-called Hamitic hypothesis.
So stop. That's basically what they use to do it. The so-called Hamitic hypothesis. There are scores of racialist writings advanced by European colonizers in pre-colonial times to undermine African cultures, i.e. the so-called Hamitic hypothesis. All right? So they were coming from a biblical perspective, attempting to define these people. So now you're going to pick up these white people, these pre-colonial white people, or these colonial, you're going to pick up the colonizers' ideas and run with it and define yourself, which is basically what they're doing.
To undermine African cultures.
Right. Okay.
Sort of like a psychological colonization.
Right. And look who picked it up. Read the next line.
It was particularly invoked by Igbo nationalists during the Gori, a Nigerian civil war in 1967 to 1970.
Yeah, I was born, 67.
A defining moment in the social construction of Igbo identity.
Stop. So that means that the Igbo, put me on the screen for a second. What that means is that the Igbo people of Nigeria appropriated the Hamitic hypothesis for themselves the very year I was born, 1967.
Okay.
Which means in 1965, they wasn't no Jews. In 1964, they weren't Jews. In 1963 and 62, they weren't Jews. They appropriated it for themselves, or they invoked it in 1967. I was born in 1967, okay? So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay? I am history. Okay, so let's go.
That's crazy right there. All right. A defining moment in the social construction of Igbo identity. Igbo nationalists appropriated the Jewish experience of persecution.
What did they do to the Jewish experience? They did what? What was the word they used?
Appropriated it.
Appropriated. Let's come back. Let's send that word to Nick Cannon. Let's send that word to Kanye, who we love and respect and appreciate. Let's send that word to Fantasia. They appropriated the identity. I say it again. If you need a dictionary, go look up the word appropriation. Okay? For all you black Hebrew Israelites and black Jews running around there claiming that these African people are Jews or Hebrews or Israelites. Okay?
Yeah.
Let us continue.
All right.
Enough with the fuckery. Let's go.
Igbo nationalists appropriated the Jewish experience of persecution in Central and Eastern Europe. Appropriated the Jewish experience of persecution in Central and Eastern Europe to make their case for ontological security of Igbos. Whilst this political strategy...
What does that mean, the ontological security of Igbos? It basically means the right to exist by virtue of your relationship with God. Your divine right to exist. That is the best way to put it. Right? That's basically what they invoked. They appropriated the Jewish experience, right? In an effort to assert their divine right to exist. Which means what? They were under what? Attack. Okay? Right. So this is a reactionary identity. Okay? It's a reactionary identity. It's a survivalist attempt. It's a collective survivalist attempt to ensure the survival of the group by claiming this divine relationship with God under a system already deemed plausible and legitimate throughout the world, which is the Jewish identity. Okay? So they took it for themselves. Let's continue.
Okay. Whilst the political strategy was partially successful.
Oh, stop. What they call it? They refer to it as what?
A political strategy.
A political strategy. I gotta say this. You stupid motherfuckers. My favorite 3 words. You stupid motherfuckers. It was a political strategy. This is why the Igbos of West Africa appropriated that identity. It's not because there were some biblical people walking around in the Bible. Okay? They're not one of the lost 10 tribes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. You're probably not gonna want to watch The Little Drummer Boy. You're probably not gonna want to watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town or Rudolph or whatever you do, or watch the 10 Commandments this year. I'm sorry. But here we do scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay? Remember I told you before, facts don't care about your feelings and neither do I. So if you say, oh, Shakka, well, why'd you have to say that? Why'd you have to be disrespectful about it? Because I'm tired of African identity being assaulted by these fictional fake identities that your colonizers literally gave you. It was the colonizers that started. You know how they say, not today, colonizer. The Hebrew Israelites are saying, yes, today, colonizer. It's like, what are we going to do? How are we supposed to fight against the colonizer while you people are like, yeah, we'll take that? What the fuck? Like, how bottom of the barrel are you that you have to appropriate an identity brought to you by colonizers? What the fuck? Seriously? All right, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Okay.
So whilst this political strategy was partially successful,
it did not halt the Nigerian state from extirpating Biafra. Despite the reincorporation of Biafran territory into Nigeria, Igbo nationalists still see themselves as Jews, Jewishness, as Jews.
Read that correctly. You skipped over a word.
Yeah. Igbo nationalists still see themselves as Jews, and Jewishness has mutated into something of a pristine Igbo identity in post-colonial Nigeria.
So what is this now? It is the resurfacing of Africa's favorite preoccupation, classism. They used the Jewish identity to propel themselves into a class of people above and beyond everybody else.
Wow.
It's a head fuck game. It's classicism. See, this is scholarship. This is not standing on the street corner screaming, we're Jews, we're Jews. and this is how we got caught up on the slave ships. And Christ said, shut the fuck up and read a book. Read a scientific paper. Okay? Now, most people are going to say, well, Shakka, that's Cambridge University. This is white people talking. Right? That's what they're going to say, right, Hotep Jesus?
That's what they're going to say, yeah.
Okay. So can we please go to the next slide?
Uh-oh. Oh, Lord.
That's what they said. It's white people talking. What's the next slide? What number is the next slide? Number 6?
6.
Okay. So let's go to number 6. Hold on. Let's go to number 6. Let's see who actually wrote the article. Let's see who wrote the article. Is it on the screen?
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. Because this is who wrote the article. This is a real scholar. Not a rap music producer. All right? This is not a rap music producer. This is not somebody making sneakers in fashion. This is a real fucking scholar. Okay? His name is Promise Frank Ejiofor. He is from Nigeria. Studies at Cambridge University. This is his 2022 PhD Development Studies, Queen's College, Cambridge. Look him up. Okay? These are the black people we need to be celebrating. Not idiots from Chicago. Sorry. Not idiots up in California running around feeling they all got to marry white women to prove something. No. Okay, enough with the dumb shit. We giving too many people passes they haven't earned or deserved. Remember I told you, when you don't know the difference between that which is priceless and that which is for sale, you will sell anything, including your motherfucking identity, as long as you think it's getting you something that you think you want and need.
You got to say that one again.
When you don't know the difference, put me on the screen.
Hold on.
Okay.
You on it.
When you don't know the difference, when you are not taught the difference between that which is priceless and that which is for sale, you will sell your identity in order to procure that which you think you need. You understand? It's that simple.
Hotep.
It's that simple. See, this is the real shit. You're not gonna get this on ABC News. You're not gonna get this on fucking NBC. You ain't gonna even get this on Roland Martin. Because ain't none of them fucking with me and on my level when it comes to the scholarship. But this is the real shit. Let's put our brother Promise back on screen.
Okay. He's up there.
Okay? Now I want you to just read who he is. I want you to read it.
Okay. Promise. Okay. You read that part. All right. I developed an interest in informality during my postgraduate studies in social anthropology at the University of Cambridge.
Did he say at the local community college?
No, he didn't.
Did he say at the local village school?
No, he didn't.
Did he say at PS 123?
No, he didn't.
I'm asking, did he say at intermediate school 591 in Pittsburgh?
No, he didn't.
No, where did he say he was doing his postgraduate studies?
Postgraduate studies in social anthropology at the University of Cambridge.
At the University of Cambridge. Last time I checked, University of Cambridge is for the upper echelon of academia, is it not?
It is.
That is the pride and pristine of white people in Europe, is it not?
It is.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Okay. In contemporary development discourses, informality is invariably connected to free riding, low tax to GDP ratio, little or no accountability, and the under-provision of public goods. This discourse is even more pervasive in much of the global South, where the growth of formal cities is juxtaposed with skyrocketing informal settlements and economics. During my PhD in development studies, I will ethnographically assess the veracity of the hegemonic discourses on informality, focusing on the specific case of Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, but also paradoxically the state with one of the lowest tax to GDP ratios in Africa and in the world at only 6%. As a man of ideas, I strongly believe...
As a man of what? A man of what?
Ideas.
Did he say a man of beliefs?
No.
He said a man of what?
Ideas.
Okay, let's keep going.
I strongly believe that education and research are conducive to social, moral, and political revolutions.
Stop. He said, now see, this is somebody who you want to listen to. Not Kanye West. I'm sorry, brother. I love you and I respect you and I appreciate you. It's just that you're at a place in your life where you could do much more harm than good to the psyche of black people because of your Bible psychosis. Okay? Kanye has a Jesus complex that is the result of a Messiah complex, which he got from his immersion in the Bible from childhood. Okay? And with all due respect, it's like the more wealthy and the more resourceful and the more powerful a person is, the more easier it is for them to contaminate people with ideas, with erroneous and wrong ideas. So we got to shut that down. We're not shutting you down, Kanye. We're shutting your narrative down. We are not Jew. Stop it. Just stop it, okay? He said, I strongly believe that what? Education and research.
Yeah.
are conducive to social, moral, and political revolutions. Isn't that what Kanye wants? He claims he wants a social, moral, and political revolution.
Yes.
But this man here is telling you how to get it.
Right.
Kanye said he was a college dropout. This man is studying at Cambridge University. Who should we listen to? I'm going with the brother from Cambridge University.
I'm gonna listen to Promise.
Oh, okay, I'm going with Promise. I'm not going with Kanye. Okay, I strongly believe that education and research are conducive to social, moral, and political revolutions. Let's continue.
He says, I'm confident my research will inform policy interventions given the functional holes in Nigeria's labile taxation system. I am profoundly honored to be joining the Gates Cambridge scholarly community.
Oh, go ahead.
Previous education, University of Cambridge Social Anthropology 2020, Central European University, Budapest College, Political Science 2019.
Now, bro, put it on me. Put it on me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Put the camera on me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a scholar.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it where it said by his name, select scholar? I want you to go back to the preceding picture.
Says scholar elect.
Oh, it's right there at the top.
Yes,
yeah.
Scholar elect.
Scholar elect.
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye. Scholar elect.
Mm-hmm.
You're grabbing podium after podium, microphone after microphone to spread your misinformation.
Mm.
And then you have the nerve to denigrate our relationship to ancient Egypt in service and in favor of a fictional people.
Mm.
That's disgusting. And this is the danger of allowing people with too much influence to, how can I put it? We have to be careful that our minds are not subjected to the miseducation of people who have more resources with which to spread that miseducation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they make our job harder.
Right. Because we don't have the resources as yet. Right.
Not only that, I'm supposed to be working on a more important project to help us get us where we're supposed to be established identity-wise. And you know that better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to have to stop and make this a priority, it's like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do it one more time and the whole PowerPoint is complete. And then that's it. After that, when I realized, let me tell you what I realized about Black people, brother, our people.
Mm-hmm.
I realized a long time ago that if you make fighting ignorance among Black people your full-time occupation, you better believe that you will have time for nothing else. You will have time for nothing else. Because even after you have proved and successfully established precedents and facts, you will get a contingency of ignorant Black people coming up from the rear who didn't see the first presentation, still stuck on yesterday's news, claiming they bringing you the truth of today. And this is the kind of shit we have to deal with.
Yeah.
You would think that these brothers would do the right thing and open up their platforms to persons like yourself, myself, and say, yo, come to Hot 97 and talk. No, they keep bringing the same usual suspects like Umar Johnson. I'm not going to say anything derisive about my brother, but I do have issues with Umar Johnson. Yes. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He can rightfully say, brother, if you had issues with me, why didn't you just contact me and talk to me? Why? Because a lot of shit that is said in the public sphere. And I think that once you say something in the public sphere, it's in the public sphere where you need to be held accountable.
Mm.
Right? It doesn't have to be in a disrespectful or a destructive way, but just to set the record straight. And there are those of us who can pull rank and say, hey, look, we don't stand by that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stand by that. We don't co-sign that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So so let's get back to our brother Promise.
Okay.
I put him back on the screen.
All right.
This is a brother Nigerian born telling you why the Igbo did what they did.
So you want me to go to the next slide?
What's the next slide? Number 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to slide number 7.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. So, with that, tell me when it's up.
It's up, but it's the same one. It's another one here with the crossed out menorah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now we are taking the menorah from the Igbo.
Okay.
We took it from the Limba.
Right.
And now we are taking it from the Igbo. Okay,
Stamping their passports too.
And we stamping their passports too. Non-Jewish. Non-Jewish. We're going to stamp their passports and it's going to say non-Jewish. Right?
Okay.
We're going to call them the Igbo of Hot 97, like Igbo of Hot 97. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, stop with the Igbo lies.
Yeah.
You are not Jewish. You are a bunch of classicists who wanted to upgrade your class to a people that were above and beyond the surrounding ethnic groups. That's what you did. And I didn't even put the God people in here because the God people, once they realized that the premium was placed on ancient Egypt, they shed that Hebrew identity and they went with ancient Egypt. So if you ask the God right now where they come from, oh, we from ancient Egypt. You ask the airway, where you from? Oh, we from ancient Egypt. We from the Nile Valley. Yeah, because they peeped game. They caught on. They was like, nah, this Hebrew Israelite is some second class shit. We ain't fucking with this. but the Igbo are still stuck there, right?
Yeah.
The Limba are still stuck there. Okay? So we just gonna stop with the Hebrew lies of these people coming out of Africa being Hebrew Israelites. It is a lie. All capital letters lie. So we're giving back the menorahs. We're having a rummage sale on menorahs, Hebrew shores. In fact, we're going to take it from them and we're going to donate it to the Jewish communities. We're going to give back to the Jewish community. Because they have been so generous with the black community of America, we are going to take these menorahs from the Igbo because they ain't got no business having them. We're going to take them from the Limba because they ain't got no business having them. And we're going to give them back to the Jewish communities in which they belong. Okay? These are black people with some sense. Just like Promise, Ejufore.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They wanted to say, oh, it was a white man that wrote that. No, it was not. It was a Nigerian who knows the history of his country and knows the history of the people in it, who's an actual academic who wrote that.
Yeah.
And Cambridge University would not have published it if he did not have his facts together.
That's true. That's true.
You lose. Lucky this was not a debate on stage because I would have embarrassed the shit out of somebody. And I wish it would have been Kanye West. Not to belittle him, but to have him grow in the sight of people by being diminished first in the sight of people. Because sometimes when people present themselves as the sun, you tend to find out they weren't anything but a little asteroid. That's all they were. They were just a little Pluto pretending that they were the sun. No, you're not the sun, as much as your delusions would lead you to be. And you see the problem with am I on screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Yeah, the problem with a Messiah complex, a Jew complex. The problem with a Messiah complex, a Jesus complex, and a God complex. So I was speaking to a mutual friend of ours last night on the phone, and she was saying, but Shakka, I support that because I think we should be God. We should be like that. And I said, no, that's a problem. There's a difference between being God-like in your culture and attempting to fall in line with the essence of God, if you will, or the order of nature, right? Attempting to fall in line with that and deifying your culture, which is what religion is supposed to be, or spirituality is supposed to be, whatever you want to call it. right? That is very different from a Messiah complex, a Jesus complex, and a God complex. Why? Because what these complexes do, especially when they are wrapped up one in the other, remember I said it's one inside of the other inside of the other. Remember I said I don't like to fuck with people who think they're thinking outside the box because they don't realize they're just in another box.
Right.
Bigger, right? And I think you also iterated the same thing, right? Which reminded me that I had previously iterated the same thing on another platform and just within my own mind. The problem, Hotep, is that it deludes the person who possesses these psychoses into believing, are you ready, that they are the only one. You understand?
Yeah.
You are you have cornered the market on divinity. You have come at this time and this place to lead everyone. No, bruh. No. You are not the shepherd. We are not the sheep. And I have to say this. I was not going to say it, but I'm saying this so I hope Kanye hears it. You really have to be careful of a person like Kanye wanting to lead because he worships at the altar of Elon Musk. Elon is his Jesus. You understand that? Elon Musk is his Jesus. That's why, in fact, he almost, the one person Kanye does not ever identify himself with is John the Baptist, because that's who he really is in that equation. In that equation, he's John the Baptist crying out in the wilderness to let everybody know that Elon Musk is coming. That's why he's always saying, me and Elon are the leaders. He's always saying that, me and Elon and myself, we are the leaders. But you know that you're not on Elon's level, so that means that you must be John the Baptist to his Jesus. Right? But because of the way the hierarchy works, Kanye gets to be the Jesus. He's going to jump the gun to be the Jesus for black people. Right? Just don't look behind this curtain so that you discover it's Kanye, it's Elon who is the real Jesus behind this thing. And so this is why I say you have to be careful when people come before you wanting to lead you. One, they already have a bunch of erroneous ideas. Two, you don't know who their allegiance is to. In fact, he's always saying, I do what I do for an audience of one. Yeah, I think that audience is Elon. I don't think it's God. Unless Elon is your Jesus. It had to be said. It needed to be said because nobody else has said it. Everybody's talking about all these other things on the periphery. You know me. I go to the heart.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I do. I go to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
So that is the heart of the matter. Okay? Kanye, dear Kanye, or dear Ye, Elon may be your savior. He is not mine. Could never be mine. How do I know? Because I was raised to know that the savior of the black race could never come from between the legs of a white woman. You see? You see?
That's true.
That's the very reason why certain people who remain nameless, who are having these children with white women, I don't have a problem with you doing that. Just realize that those children cannot be our savior. Why? Because of the old African axiom. The savior of the black race can never come from between the legs of a white woman, or won't ever come from between the legs of a white woman. That's just how that goes. That's how that goes. A lot of people are freaking out. You know, I used to always say back in my early days, I used to always say in my early days, two things every black parent must teach their black child, or they have failed as a black parent. The savior of the black race will not ever come from between the legs of a white woman. And number two, a white man's heaven is a black man's hell.
Sounds like two common sense things to me.
Common sense ain't common. Common sense.
I think a lot of people are looking for a white woman to save them, though. A lot of our people, they run into a lot of white folks who save us.
Well, black women are running to white men to save them. Black men are running to white women to save them. I mean, my thing is, people should be able to be with who they want to be with.
Right.
Just understand that everything in the world has consequences. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the world has consequences. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize what they've done until it's far down the line. And then they get stuck wishing they would have taken another route. But my favorite song, my anthem, because it describes most people. 'Cause she was blinded by the light, ripped off like a douche into the rumor of the night. Blind, real talk, bro. They're blinded by the light. They're blinded by the light and they blinded by the white. And that's just what it is. And my thing is this. I got white homies whom I love dearly.
Same.
Dearly.
Same.
And I know you do too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In fact, we got mutual white homies that I'm sure we respect and appreciate dearly. But we don't worship them.
No.
We not at the altar like, are you better than me or I'm better than you? I've never said that black people are better than white people. I think that's a silly, well, unless you talk about sports, but I think unless you talk about sports, music, academics, literature, okay, well, food, sex. I don't know. I'm trying here. I'm trying here.
I want you to because we've killed the Jew thing, right?
Did we? Oh no, we got to go to the last one.
Okay.
Go to the last picture.
All right. Yes, I see it.
Put that on the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these idiots. I want you to look at them. I want you to look at these idiots.
Yeah.
Look at these fools. I want you to. That's what they are, and that's what I'm gonna call them. They're idiots and they're fools. They're imposters. That's what they are. Imposters. To the point where they even dressing like the what do you call it? The Levitic Jews with the suits and the hats.
The Hasidic.
Yeah, they think they're Ashkenazi. Look at them walking around in the suits and the hats.
Yeah.
That comes out of Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we're not going to see Kanye like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and hold on. While we jump on Kanye, Fantasia, and Nick Cannon, don't forget Shine. Shine went all the way. Shine.
That's right. Shine did go.
Shine went all the way. In fact, he might be the one behind all of this shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We ain't forgetting. Ain't nobody getting a pass. Nobody gets a pass. This is an identity war, ideological war. Let's call it what it is. Are those dudes on the screen? Put them back on the screen. I hope they're on the screen.
They're still on the screen.
I want people to see these fools. See them. Look at them. Can you imagine a black woman that gave birth to these two morons? Look at them. Especially the dude with the beard on the left. He really think he one of them.
In the white? You talking about in the white?
No, the one
on the black.
On the right. The one with the beard. I said the one with the beard.
Okay. Yeah. He the suit is definitely European. Like the suit comes out of Europe.
Dude. Look, bro. Okay.
That's definitely cultural appropriation right there.
The Lavada bitch, the Lavuba bitch. I forgot how to say their names. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about we know about the Hasidim, but there's another one, the Lubavitch Jews.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can spell it right.
Damn. He sure as hell did appropriate the whole look. He got the tie, the necktie, the phallic symbol.
You understand what I'm saying? These dudes are off their mind, man.
Yeah.
Shabbat. Hold on, what do they call it? Yes, the Lubavitch. The Lubavitch.
Lubavitch, okay.
Yes. The Lubavitch. Okay? These motherfuckers, I mean, come on, man. And then we got the nerve to tell Jewish people they're intercultural appropriation and all of this shit while you running around. Man, look. Hey, look. Show the Lubavitch. Google the image and put it on your screen so people can see it.
Paste the link in the chat.
All right, here.
I'll bring it up on the screen right now.
In the chat. Yeah. Here you go. Oh, it might not fit in the chat. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
All right, cool. I got to stop with the name calling. Sometimes it's the immature aspect of me. I don't mean any harm, but sometimes you just get
passionate.
Not passionate, you're tired of the stupid shit. It's like, come on, man. I understand people are invested in identities. I get that. You know, can you imagine a 65-year-old woman running around in a cheerleader outfit just because she was a cheerleader in high school? No, that was a part of your life back then, but you've grown since then. Put the cheerleader outfit away.
What is a Lubavitch? Chabad Lubavitch is a philosophy, a movement, and an organization. It is considered.
You put the image on the screen?
I did, yeah.
Right,
it's on the screen right now. I had clicked on those links from the images, and it said it is considered to be the most dynamic.
Oh, no, I wanted them to see all the pictures at one time.
Oh yeah, they seen that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, they seen that.
So that's who he thinks he is. What the philosophy of what?
It is considered to be the most dynamic force in Jewish life today. A philosophy, a movement, and an organization.
And where's its origin?
It says right here, organization can be traced back to early 1940s when six Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yuchia Shenadov or something, righteous memory.
So this black dude, put the black dude back on the scene on the screen.
Okay.
Put this dude back on there.
Hold on, let me get back to him. Okay, he's back.
So he's dressing like 1940 Jews. Why?
Yeah.
Why? You're not from that, mister. You was nowhere around, mister. This is what you call a lost person. All capital letters. They both lost. But at least the one on the left look a little more stylish with the white, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
He look like he belonged in a Mel Gibson movie. I ain't mad at him.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at him. So,
yeah.
And no, none of this had anything to do with anti-Semitism.
Right.
He wasn't talking about no Semites.
Right.
And I don't use the term anti-Semite. Anyway, you can put me back on the screen. Right? Yeah, this had nothing to do with anti-Semitism, but you could say something bad about Arabs, and that's anti-Semitism because they're Semites.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that term anti-Semitism, I don't like it because what do you call it when it's Jew versus Arab? A Semite on Semite crime.
Yeah.
Semite on Semite crime. So, okay, cool. No problem. Although we know some of them Semites ain't real Semites. Okay. So the point I'm making, though, is that, the whole thing is a farce, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about ancient Egypt now, right? Because we've chosen to take on this identity of the Black Hebrew, but there were some tribes in Africa that understood, no, we need to be identifying ourselves with Egypt. Can you explain why it's more important for us to identify with Egypt if we're going to identify with anything, as opposed to the Hebrew Israelite ideology?
Okay. Let's do it from a cultural perspective.
Okay.
All right. Before we do it from the racial perspective, let's do it from a cultural perspective. What contribution did Hebrews give to the world?
Black Hebrews?
Hebrews, period.
I don't know.
That's my whole point. What did they give to the world?
Yeah.
What contribution did Israelites, Hebrews, Jews, in the context of what their claim to fame is? I'm not saying that Jews have not made contributions to the world. Of course they have.
Mhm.
Albert Einstein was one of them. I'm not talking about in that context.
Right.
I'm talking about in the context of their claim to fame, which is really their religion.
Mhm.
Jew is not a race.
Mm.
Jewish is not even a race,
Mhm.
right? But Jewish may be a race, but Jew is not a race,
Mhm.
okay? Judaism is not a race. It's not a racial movement, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's a religion.
actually what it is. It's not even that. It's a literary identity.
Mm.
It comes out of a book. From the very beginning, it came out of the book.
Mhm.
From the very beginning of its existence, it came out of a book.
Mhm.
Came out of stories. It's a storied identity. That's it. Okay? And it was stories that were used to cement the relationships between disparate people who were cohabitating a particular region of the world. And it was out of the coalescence and adherence to these stories that are told cyclically that gave rise to the identity. You understand? It was the bond. In fact, it was the cohesiveness of these stories that gave them the story was the first version of their state.
Mm.
The collection of these stories created the boundaries between them and other people.
Right.
The same way the Igbo did.
Right.
So this is state formation by story,
Okay.
not by race.
Right.
You can't say the same thing about ancient Egypt.
Mm.
You can't say the same thing about ancient Egypt.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
And not only that, the stories that these biblical identities used to establish their identities were not originally their stories.
Mm.
They were stories that came from ancient Egypt that they then they just moved a few words around and signed their names to it and said, look, this is our story. No, it's not. It's a lie. It's just, I mean, there's really no other way to say it. All of these stories that you read about in the Bible, they're just older stories from older civilizations that they rehashed and applied to themselves with a few twists and turns. That's it. They're all based on older stories. That's not debatable. Like you would have to maybe have a junior high school education to not know that. Seriously. And it's not my fault if you haven't read the material and you don't read the research and you don't read the journals, the peer-reviewed journals. If you don't have an education that is at least at university level pertaining to this stuff, don't talk about it like you know it's facts or like you know it's history. You ask people questions about history. Oh, I don't study history, but you're making historical claims. So I don't study physics, but I can make physics claims.
Mm-hmm.
I don't study physics, but I could talk shit about quantum physics. Really? Really? I can talk shit about the universe, but I'm not an astrophysicist. That doesn't even make sense. But that's what you have here. A bunch of non-experts speaking as experts. So ancient Egypt is important because at the end of the day, when you just talk, you got to remember. So let's historicize the conversation. Why was the Black identity initially separated from Egypt to begin with?
That's a good question.
Here's why. No one in antiquity did that. Herodotus didn't do that. Iamblichus didn't do that. Plato didn't do it. Who else?
Socrates.
Stephanus of Byzantium didn't do it. Isocrates didn't do it. None of these people separated the blackness of the Egyptians from the Egyptians. It wasn't done in the Herculaneum region of Pompeii, right? The images are still there in the temples of these black Isiac priests, the priests of Isis out of Egypt, being black Africans. So if none of these people separated blackness from Egypt, at what point did that happen? And why? That's important. Let's talk about that. It happened because during 18th, 19th century, or even earlier than that, European expansion, but particularly Western Europe, during their expansion period, you have to remember they were Christians, okay? And as Christians, it would be deemed inappropriate to enslave human beings. But with what the Pope did at a particular period, they stratified people's humanity based on their religion. Okay? Islam did the same thing. That's why you have to be careful with these books. Islam did the same thing. Right? Anybody who's a Muslim, they are brought under the fold of Islam. If you are not a Muslim, all bets are off. We can do whatever we want to you. We can enslave you. We know that happened in West Africa because Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, he wrote letters. This is a very famous Muslim scholar in Timbuktu and all this area. He wrote letters, and his letters are in the museums. And what the letters indicate is that he wrote to the Sultanate in Arabia, right? He wrote saying, this is the chief, I think it was the Sultan of Baghdad or somebody, who was in charge of Islam at the time. They were the head of Islam and of the Muslim world, of the Mohammedan world, as they called it. And in the letters, he said, my dear brother, my Muslim brother, my brother in the faith, my fellow Muslim, please be instructed that in your slave raiding in our areas here on the Slave Coast, that's why they call it the Slave Coast, and the Gold Coast. They said, in these regions, you are kidnapping Muslims, because the children of the king had been kidnapped and his relatives. And he said, please be instructed to return them, because like you, they are Muslim. However, feel free to continue raiding the non-Muslims around us. You see, this is how religion works. It works to subsume you into a foreign network for economic reasons, thereby externalizing and severing your relationship with your people who hitherto were your fellow man. And that's what happened in Islam. Same thing in Christianity, truthfully speaking. Same thing, right? Those heathens, right? Well, who are the heathens? Us, right? So with respect to these Abrahamic identities, you gotta avoid Abrahamic identities. Don't ever claim an Abrahamic identity. One, because there was never an Abraham. That's number one.
Oh.
Okay? Abraham did not exist. So since Abraham did not exist, there's no need to claim descent from Abraham. Because like Kanye said, or Ye said numerous times, and Nick Cannon said numerous times, we are all children of Abraham. Where did you get that from, you miseducated bumbleheads? We are not children of Abraham. You sound stupid and uneducated and miseducated. Yeah. We are not children of Abraham. Abraham is a fictional character out of a story, like Harry Potter. Are you going to tell us that we got to pay our taxes or Harry Potter's going to come get us?
So,
Or are you going to tell us we should worry about gang fights at Dumbledore? Or whatever the name of that place is?
yeah.
Like, they have no sense of historical, because they have no sense of historical reality, they are attempting to interject fallacious identities into the Black community because they have no education about these things. None. And they have no respect. Here's the worst part about them. This is what they're most guilty of. This includes Ye, this includes Nick Cannon, and people like Fantasia, all of them. They have no respect for their own people who toil in these areas for 30, 40, 50 years. They are too good and they are above us to even have a fucking conversation with us. So fuck them. That's how I feel about it. And I had to get that out there.
I feel you. So, what is the origins of this stuff? You know, of these books and of the African people. How do we know? Because, you know, I've been on a lot of podcasts and they're like, you know, the Egyptians is white. They was never black. This is things that they say to me. And I go, okay, if that's what you want to believe, like, I didn't come here to argue about the origins of ancient Egypt. If you want to do that, you can bring Shakka Ahmose on your channel and he can destroy you if you want. But yeah, how do you point to somebody to what's correct?
Well, it all depends really on what it is they want to know. Like, what is it they're trying to know? They want to know why is the Bible fake? Do you want to know, well, how do we know the Egyptians are black? Do you like what is exactly?
Let's start with Egyptians being black.
Okay. That's really easy. I'm going to send you a link so you can put on your screen.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me see.
Shout out to Jen and TV. Hotep Jesus, since he is your teacher, do you believe everyone that believes in the Bible are under a psychosis? Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Pew Pew Guru, thank you. Jeremy Sears, thank you.
Are you gonna let me answer that question?
No. Jordan Matthews. So when Hebrews in the Tanakh were referred to as Cush, Psalm 7, you believe that is worth disregarding?
Of course. Of course it is. If I told you the whole fucking book is garbage, then disregard the whole fucking book. All right? It's like if somebody brings you some food they found in the garbage, are you going to say, well, I'm just going to pick around the edges to the stuff that's not molded yet? Because that's the kind of mentality that would ask that kind of question. The fuck? I tell you, I have no tolerance for the bullshit.
What's the link?
I'm looking for a good one. 1 second. I mean, I just really don't have any tolerance for the bullshit. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I appreciate everyone.
It's like either you're stupid or you're not. Make a choice.
Yeah.
All the smart people step to the right. All the stupid people step to the left. You want to stay believing in the Bible, I'm going to tell you step to the left. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fucking, I'm not here to stroke your hand and make you feel good about something because you were miseducated about it. That's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That is not my job.
If I need everybody to check the description box. The links for Shakka Ahmose, his YouTube channel, his courses on all the subject matter he's talking about tonight are available at his website. Those links are in the description box below. Also, subscribe.
Oh, no, my website has been down for quite some time, bro.
Nah, the Thinkific link.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The Black Masters, White Slaves. People love that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those courses are there. Also, subscribe to Hotep Jesus on Spotify and Apple Music.
No, don't subscribe to Hotep Jesus. Only to subscribe to me.
Don't listen to this guy.
You know how we do. We keep it gully in the street.
Subscribe to the audio version of this interview will be on Spotify, will be on Apple Music in the coming days. So, I want you to spread that around. I know some of you guys.
You see, if he was really my homie, and that's why I said don't subscribe to him, he'd be like, Shakka, come over here. Let me show you how to get your music on Spotify. Let me show you how to get your lectures on Spotify, on Apple Music, on all this. Nah, you know what they do? They run with the ball and leave you out in the cold. They use you. You must be Jewish.
I just got my channel back. Here you go.
Oh, no, we ain't saying no anti-Semitic shit up here. Not at all. We ain't with that shit. We ain't not forget anti-Semitic. We ain't saying nothing anti-Jewish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no reason to. There's for what? The fuck, you ain't getting no points for what?
Right. And after we talk about the origins of blackness, we want to talk about the origins of the Bible and where some of that stuff came from.
Sure thing.
Because you know, I think people need to have that education as well, and then we'll start to wind down and let people let this information sit on their consciousness.
Not a problem.
Hit the share button in the meantime. I need everybody hit the share button, share this out. Take this moment to share this out to Twitter. I will retweet you if I see you share this out to Twitter. Tag me on Twitter and I will share it out. Take your favorite clip, post it to Instagram. Also, when you make a comment in the description box below, comment and place the timestamp in the comments so we can start to help navigate this episode, because it's a long episode. And, you know, maybe your favorite parts. Also, YouTube has a really cool feature where you can create clips. So if you guys want to go ahead and create clips using the YouTube feature, go ahead and do the same.
Hey, look, I just want to say to your audience that if I made anyone mad or upset and I hurt their feelings, good. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say that.
They're used to that over here. You know.
Okay, cool.
This is a channel where I'm very frank and we're very objective, and you got to be ready to hear something that's gonna hurt your feelings over here. So they're used to that. They'll be all right.
Because if I didn't hurt your feelings, I would be very disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
People need that, man. You need to be challenged. This is what, you know, iron sharpens iron type situation, right?
It's no question about it. The only problem is most of these motherfuckers ain't iron. They're like that. They're that material. Remember the number 2 pencil? Remember the eraser on the number 2 pencil?
Yeah.
That's what the fuck they are. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no.
That's what the fuck they are. A bunch of number 2 pencils.
Shout out to Kentucky Ike. He just shared it out to Twitter. I have retweeted you. Thank you for sharing this out. Oh man. Oh.
Hold on. I'm just looking. I got so much stuff, but hold on one second.
Yeah, no, take your time.
All right.
Take your time. Shout out to the chat. I see Sketch Therapy in the chat. Jay Pylon in the chat. What up, homies? Make sure y'all subscribe to Canon Hotep channel, YouTube channel. And also, this will also be on my Rumble. You guys have to understand that I am have a backup channel, which I would like to make my primary channel, maybe. But here's my Rumble account. You guys can go and subscribe to my Rumble channel, Hotep Jesus. Type in Hotep Jesus on Rumble. We're sitting at right now 449 subscribers. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button over there as I start to. Right now, my YouTube account is connected, so you'll see a collection of videos here from YouTube that are backed up on Rumble, and my uncensored and interviews will happen on Rumble. As long as Rumble is still a free speech platform, that is how we'll use it as such until we bring everything in-house, which is definitely in the plans to no longer use any other platforms but our own, and then you will exist within the Hotep Nation only. But that is a few years down the line, maybe less, depending on how things go. Also, look out for the grifties.com, the Grifties award show.
The Grifties. You niggas are petty. You're petty.
We have to award our grifters, you know,
right,
for doing such a great job grifting off of the culture. So we reward them and honor them with the Grifties every year. So that's coming up. I want you guys to look out for that. Be ready to support that. That is going to be on the Hotep Nation channel. Make sure you guys check out the Hotep Nation channel. Subscribe to the Hotep Nation channel. View last year's Grifties featuring Jason Whitlock and many others. This year we're going to have another all-star cast of presenters. I can't wait to reveal those names to you, but I cannot do that right now because that information is confidential. Also, Hotep Nation is a 501c non-profit organization. And
Stop lying. Stop lying. You know you can't profit.
Actually, at this point, we've been 100% nonprofit.
That's what's up.
You know, we've been 100% nonprofit. We're working with Home Hacker Camp, And
Right.
we've, every dollar that has been donated to this camp has either been allocated or saved. So we have put 11 kids into this STEM class. So the thing is about Hotep Nation is we don't need to use any of this $12,000 because we have merch that sells, and we have the Grifties generates revenue and some other avenues that generates revenue for the company. So anything that's donated here, this 12,000, as it is so far, is going directly to the kids. So that's our initiative for homeschooling. And then also we have our yearly event, HotepCon. Shakka Ahmose cussed me out because he wasn't at the last two Hotep cons.
Look how you worded it. He wasn't at the last two. No, he wasn't invited to the last two. Okay? Let's stop with the bullshit. No more biblical lies. Shakka Ahmose was not invited. Fuck.
Shakka,
ripoff, I tell you, it's a ripoff.
The thing is like this, Shakka Ahmose has created a name for himself. I was able to steal his legacy, steal his work, and profit off of it.
For the most part. He finally got it off his chest, people. He finally got it off his chest. That's all right. I still love him. That's my brother.
We let him come on the channel every once in a while and let people know.
Some of my little charity, right?
Just a little charity. We let him come on and let people know he exists, and then we hide him in the back again.
Evo. That's all right. I will have the final word.
When I start preaching about my Hotep ways, I'm gonna be culturally appropriating all the work of Shakka Ahmose and taking claim for it.
You heard it. You heard it.
It's my brother. I can do that.
As long as I'm compensated, I'm good, man. Just show me some love, man. That's all I'm saying, man.
Absolutely. But we're gonna try and figure out a way to get him there.
Click on those links that I sent you real fast.
Oh, you sent them already? All right.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I've been sent them. Long time ago.
I'm sorry. I'm late.
Yeah.
All right. Let me put this up on the screen.
Now, I don't know which one you're looking at, so you got to tell me.
Bridge Man Images.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hatshepsut.
Right.
Hatshepsut.
Right. Okay. That was one of the kings of the 18th dynasty. Does he look Chinese?
No, he does not.
Does he look Russian?
Nope.
Does he look Irish?
No.
Does he look like an Arab to you?
Nope.
Okay. What does he look to you? What color?
Looks like a black man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So when people ask you dumb shit like, why would you say the ancient Egyptians were black? Well, for the same reason I can look at the sun, dumbass. And I can see there's a sun in the sky. It's that simple.
Yeah.
My eyes told me so.
Yeah.
Okay? My eyes.
All right. I'm going to bring up the second link now.
My eyes work.
All right. Here's the second link. Let's put this on the screen. And I'll leave the other one up just in case we have to revisit it. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go.
What are you looking at? Is it a picture of Tahuti, of a god?
That looks like Tahuti. Yeah, that's definitely Tahuti.
What color is his body? Is his body the color of an Irishman or a German man?
No.
Is it the color of a Russian man?
No.
What color is his body? The color of what race?
Of black people.
Black people, right?
Yeah.
So when people ask you stupid shit about how do you know the ancient Egyptians were black? Because I know a black person when I see one, dumbass. What about you? It's like you ain't got to get scientific about that shit.
Yeah.
Don't do dumb shit like going to DNA and get the fuck out of here with that. When the police stop you because they see you driving, they don't say, I saw a DNA card driving by that I'm about to stop. Pull out your DNA card before I tase you so I can make sure you're black because we only tase black. It's dumb shit that people say.
Why do so many people take offense, especially white people?
Right.
Black people too. I've seen black people say, "Oh my God, they keep trying to say we the ancient Egyptians, them damn Hoteps," right. And then white people try to say, "Oh, you guys wasn't black," and why are you guys so obsessed with that? Why is everybody so angry that we want to claim this?
I'll tell you why. is different people are angry for different reasons,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the first thing that you got to remember. Anytime you're dealing with people, it's always about interest. Like, how does this impact their interest in the discourse?
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying? That's a
Yes.
very, very important thing that you have to consider.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking for some other things to share with you. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but most of the stuff that I would love to share with you
No, that's fine right there.
that would blow your audience's mind
Yeah.
is I would just have to send you more pictures.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Let me see. I might.
They seen the pictures. They just try to act like they don't see them when you put them on the screen. They try to act like, you know, they'll make excuses around all of that stuff. And I'm trying to figure out where the cognitive dissonance is coming from.
Oh, that's very easy. That's very easy. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna bring this up because I actually made links just for a particular purpose like this. I just don't use them often.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm gonna go to this right here, and there should be some links here. Let's see. Do I have any links set aside? I'm sure I do. Here we go. Here's some. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. I don't even know if these things are still even active, but we can give it a shot.
Okay.
Let's see. I have no idea if these links even work. I put these links together in like 2009 or something.
Mm.
Let me see. Nah, these are all done. All right. That's okay. That's okay. No problem. Because I made a new one recently, not too long ago. Let me just open this up. Let's see here. Black, bliggity, black.
Just so y'all know, like, this man has libraries of slides, like libraries. And when I say slides, like, one presentation is like 600 slides. And that's a small one. And you ask him something and he's just like, and it's funny how he just knows how to get, you know, he might not hit the exact slide, but he'll be like 2 or 3, be like, nope, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there it is. And he finds it within, like, you know, the 600 pages as he's providing evidence for the things that he's talking about. You know, I have the privilege of actually visiting his home and sitting down with him at his computer and seeing the research and whatnot as he's talking about it and as he's giving the lectures, which is an amazing experience. And then, you know, you're just sitting down, you're on your phone and you're taking pictures of books and you're taking notes, And, you know, I ended up, you know, spending way more money than I should on books after I'm done with them. Cause, you know, the last time he had me buy a book, the book was $150, which is hard to get.
I don't even want to know what book that was.
I can't tell the people what book it was. They got to pay for that information. They got to cash
out. I need to be more like you, man. I totally need to be like you. Like, you want to know? Dig.
Cash App, $Shakka Ahmose if y'all want to know. I'll tell the people, if they send you $150 right now collectively, I'll tell the people the name of the book that cost me $150, but they got to send you $150 first. We do that tonight. I'll tell the people the book that you sent me that, oh my God, it's the information in this book is just like, I don't even talk about the book on my channel. I refuse to show people this book. I keep the book in a safe, and
hella books. That's a hella book.
Oh yeah, this book is very, very special. The cover, even the amount of work that went into the cover. This is a physical book. It's a hardcover book. This ain't no paperback book either. And we're talking about traditional literature from antiquity. But I ain't giving that up unless y'all
Let's go, people. 150. That's 5 people with $20, and then what? 2 more people with $20, and 1 person with, I guess, 10. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
It's 5 people with $20. 5 people at 20. I'll even do it at 5 people at $20. You know, I'll compromise with y'all. At least hit 100. At least.
The research costs. Time is money.
It does. And you know, the thing is,
we don't learn this stuff for free. You think all this stuff just falls out the sky? All of this knowledge? No. Time was spent, years invested. Yeah. And if you don't get that investment back, trust me, you will die broke. And more.
Yeah.
Yes. And your children will have nothing. Your family will have, but you will just have a lot of knowledge that you will be taking with you. And that's not cool. We're better than that, people. Right? Stop complaining about Jewish people if you aren't going to support, because they support their own.
Yeah.
Their own. Do you support your own?
Correct.
Right? Are you supporting those people who are trying, who are freeing your mind from the nonsense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? But I'm going to answer those questions specifically. I just wanted to find a few more images. Because I didn't, had I known
you don't got to. You don't got to.
No, it's cool. It's okay. I just wanted to, oh, here's a good one right here. Let's go with Ramesses III. Here we go. Right?
That's the one I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, let's go with Ramesses III. His are really good. Right?
Ramesses III.
1, 2, 3. Here we go. Ramesses III. Here we go. Ramesses III. Talk to me, people. Talk to me. So I'm going to give you...
Because we got people checking out right now because you're taking too long.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. Let's go with some questions.
I need you to answer that question. I need you to tell me why
Right.
white people
Right.
and black people
Mm-hmm.
are so vitriolic
Right.
and opposing the notion
Mm-hmm.
that black people were the original Egyptians.
Okay. Why are they so against that idea? All right. Now I have to say first and foremost that I don't meet many people who are against that idea. That's number one. It's very rare. So I do know that for a long time at a certain period that was pervasive thinking, but it's so rare for me to encounter such persons that I would be at a loss to tell you why they're angry at the idea. The only thing that I could think of, well, let's just say this. If it's an African American that's angry at the idea, it's just because they're ignorant and they don't know what they're talking about. And so the idea is offensive to them. You understand?
Yeah.
Anything that bucks up against the wall of their ignorance is going to offend them. It could be anything. So I wouldn't isolate and single out Egypt, because they would also be mad if you told them that the earth was not flat.
Right.
They would be upset about that. Right?
Right.
Or other things that their ignorance entreats them to believe.
Somebody
right?
said Ramesses III was Nubian.
All right, so here's the thing, right? The concept and the idea of Nubian is a European concept and idea. Okay? There were no Nubians. Okay, that's just something that now how can I put this so that you can understand me? It helps when I'm looking at the person speaking, which is myself. So man, I wish I could just send you some of the stuff that I actually have, because you'd be like, holy shit.
We saw it in the Friday night build. I already know the answer to this question because I was in the Friday night build. I went through this course.
Right.
I could technically answer this question.
What about why they're offended?
No, we're talking about Nubia.
Right. No. I was actually talking about the images of. I have a lot of. What I did was I knew they were going to take a lot of these black images of ancient Egyptians off the internet. I knew that already, and they've already done it. So I have a very massive collection, right? But in order for me to get them to you, I had to send them over to you so you could put them on the screen.
Right.
And I'm like, I am not doing that right now.
Yeah, no.
All right. You guys got to convince him to get StreamYard. All right, look, just lower your standard to get StreamYard for when I come on, and we can just make it really easy. For people. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Nubia.
Right, Nubia. So the term Nubia is actually it's a bastardization of an old name for an old city in ancient Egypt, right? It's one of the oldest cities. And the place was called Nubti, right? And it was called Nubti because of where it sat at a particular bend of the Nile. This area called Nubti, the bend of the Nile where it sat, was at the part of the eastern desert where they would walk into the desert and mine gold. So the term noob in ancient Egyptian means gold. It doesn't mean black or black people. It means gold. So even when you say Nubia, you're talking about the land of gold. That place would be localized in the place called Nubti in ancient times. Today they call it Nakada or Nakada. Okay? And it was one of the oldest metropoles or cities in Upper Egypt. You also had Hidakompoli, right? Or they call it Hidakompolis, the Falcon City, the city of the Falcon, right? Where the chief god was Heru or Horus. And then you had the third city. So it was a trifecta of cities, if you want to call them that, cities. Locales or gnomes or sipats, whatever you want to call them, right? But they were basically commercial centers, distinct commercial centers that have relationships with each other that had different functions. So these are the three oldest cities, and this is coming out of the pre-dynastic period. So you have and the furthest south is Hidakompoli, Falcon City. Then you had in the middle Nubti. This was the city of Set of gold. Everybody knows about Osiris and Set. Well, this was the city of Set. That's why he was called the one made of gold, the gold one, right? Set. And that's in Nakada today, right? It's not far from Thebes or Waset, right? The city of the scepter, the city of rulership. And then you had what I think is the most spiritually important city at that time would have been This. It goes by a few names. This, Thini, or Abydos, or Abtu, right? This, Thini, Thin, right? So it's called the Thinite Nome, right? And this place was dedicated to Asar or Osiris. So those are the three main deities that presided over these early cities, right? So you had This, Nubti, and Hidakompoli, or the Falcon City, right? Those three places. And I forgot why I was telling you. Oh, we're talking about Nubia.
Nubia, yeah. Nubia.
So it's from Nubti that you get the idea or the concept of Nubian.
Right.
Okay. Later on, that term becomes affiliated with that entire region, plus further south, and with the ethnic peoples of those regions. So once you pass certain cataracts on the Nile, in the minds of later people who were not Egyptian, in the minds of later people, they designated that entire area Nubia. Okay? When it's really just Upper Egypt, and it's actually the precedent of Egypt out of which the culture of Egypt came. And they were urbanized before there was an Egypt. That's important to remember. And there's a lot of that region that we don't know about, and a lot of things that we don't know about, because there was a dam that was built there and a lake created, Lake Nasser. A dam was built called the Aswan High Dam. It created a lake, Lake Nasser, and what it did was it flooded for miles upon countless miles the entire ancestral area of the ancient Egyptians. And unfortunately, there were many people who didn't want to leave their ancestral lands, and they died. They stood right there, and they let the water come right over them, and they just died, because that's how attached to the land they were. So underneath this inner ocean of water, this sea of a lake is, and I think part of the reason they did that, to be quite honest, was to physically separate Egypt from the southern regions. Because it's at times Now, in order to get the preceding data on Egypt, you have to go further south into Sudan, which there's nothing wrong with, because that's where you're going to find a lot of the precedents that later on become highlighted in Egypt, in the Sudan, and also in the western desert of southern Egypt. So when people talk about the western desert and the western, when people talk about the western desert or the Sahara or during the Holocene period of Egypt, which is the very early, this is predates the state. This is all pre-dynastic, where the Egyptians came out of, right? You're talking about all of that region there in the deep, deep south, right? And a lot of that is comprised of Nubia. But if you just read the pyramid text, it tells you, the youth of Egypt, it said the youth of Nubia come out. It said the youth of Egypt come out of Nubia. So.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the last question.
In other words, the reason I said that is because primarily, when you're talking about the Nubians, you're talking about the ancient Egypt, you're talking about the same people.
Right.
The same people. At different periods, depending on depending, and I'll give you an example. They've done a lot of autopsies on quite a few of the mummies they found, and they were surprised that when they pulled out royal mummies from strictly Egyptian tombs, that the royalty that they pulled out were what they would normally designate Nubians. So what they found, particularly during the early part, the pre-dynastic periods, when you're dealing with certain cemeteries, because it's through the study of these cemeteries that they established the identities of who was who. And they have A group, C group, B group, so on and so on. A1, A2, A3. These are different designations of different groups that led to the formation of the Egyptian state. And what you find is that the ruling class, the ruling class that established the state, these were Nubians. These were Nubians. Because you got to remember, the foundation of the Egyptian state, culturally speaking, it's not in Lower Egypt. It's in Upper Egypt. So the culture, when you think about all of the things that we associate and affiliate with ancient Egypt, all of that came out of the upper regions, the southern regions, the Nubian regions. It didn't come out of the north. In the north, you had different settlements of different people who were there for business reasons and different business reasons and commercial reasons, but they were not native to that land. Right? Many of them had come out of the Levantine because of the business relationship going on between Egypt and the Levantine. So the Levantine for ancient Egypt in ancient times would be like China was for us back in the 80s and the 70s. Before China really got a foothold, they were just a manufacturing center, right? And what did business people in America do? They would have their companies in China, right? Manufactured in China, made in China, made in China. So in those times, everything would say, made in the Sinai region, made in Canaan, made in these areas here where the Egyptians had colonized. They were colonizers. We were the colonizers. They colonized, right? Or they were the colonizers. They colonized. And they had a system of really factories. They had a factory system producing products and things of that nature. So that's what incorporated the Levantine region. But the state, right? The state. You don't confuse the state with other things that were going on. The state is the state is the state. If you do not have borders, you do not have a state. The state was established in the south, in the southern regions, by people who would be designated Nubians.
Okay, next question.
Right.
It's the last question. We're gonna go to super chats and close out. Somebody, Jordan Matthews, sent in $100. He said he's gonna fit most of the bill for Shaka. This is how we're gonna do it.
That's
only
that's
only the people who sent money will get access to the title of that book. I'm not sharing it with the rest of you grifters. Okay, here's the next question.
Well, hold on. If you could do that with that book, how much money could I make off my whole library if you're gonna be giving out names of books for money?
listen, the more people that chip in, the more. How about this? I'll give them the name of the book, and you could give them a name of another book. So we'll get two books if they send in money. And if you feel like giving more, because he's a generous guy, he probably gonna hit you with 10. So
hey, look, now that I know there's a price tag attached to them, shit, they be lucky if they get one.
So last question from me. A lot of people say that the ancient Egyptians was worshiping, this god and that god and the god of Falcon and Osiris and Asar. And is that true? Were they worshiping these deities and these gods, or was this something else?
I would say yes, they worship different gods. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But so let's not take it out of context because most people fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So have you ever heard the term, like a lot of Christians like to use this term, the city of God? You ever heard that term?
Yeah.
All right. It's a term that actually comes from ancient Egypt. But they reversed the saying. It's not the city of God. It's the God of the city, right? Why? Because each city in ancient Egypt had a different God. You follow?
Yeah.
Each city in ancient Egypt had a different God. But it wasn't like, or put it like this. Each city in ancient Egypt had a different God.
Mm-hmm.
And the residents of that city worshiped that God.
Okay.
You follow?
Yep.
It wasn't like, oh, I worship this God over at the next city, that God at the next. No, it wasn't that kind of polytheism. In some cases it was, but for the most part it wasn't.
Mm.
Most of them worshiped one God. It's just that there were multiple gods that were being worshipped.
Mm.
Why? Because you had different peoples, right? This is where the paradigm is flipped amongst the Hebrews. All the Hebrew thing is in many respects, it's like, you know how you had Superman in the comics and then you had Bizarro Superman?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same thing here. You have ancient Egypt, and the Hebrew culture is like a Bizarro version of the ancient Egyptian culture. They just reversed a lot of things. So where in ancient Egypt, you had different cities. Like, there's a really, really good book I would recommend if you really want to understand this part of it. It's a really, really, really good book. So I'm going to give the title, okay? In Search of God in Ancient Egypt by Jan Assman. Get that book. If you ever really want to have a real understanding about what that's all about. So and the reason for this was because what was given to the people of the land was that each one of these gods had a sovereign story in Egypt. So it was like each city was a microcosm of the world, right? Each city was a microcosm of the world. And depending on where the temple was, that was where the world came into being. And this was true for each city, right? So when you were telling your story, you would, to your children, you were talking about the story of your city. You weren't trying to tell your children about how the next city across the next town came into existence. That's not how people thought. Minds were much more local. You got to remember the time period in which we're living, right? So when you're telling your story to your children about how things came to be, you're localizing your story to your city. Therefore, it was imperative that you were loyal to the God of your city. And if you were loyal to the God of your city had a certain kind of respect for you because they knew that you respected them. It was the cohesive glue of your city. In fact, when people would travel, they would write home. And the same way you would ask, how is my little sister doing? How's my brother doing? Is he still going fishing? Usually at the top of the list was, how is Amin? Is Amin well? I miss the God of my city. Like, people would get homesick for the God of their city. Like, they would really, really, the relationship was that, it was really that intense. So you really want to read that book, In Search of God, in ancient Egypt. I think that's the title. Let me look at it real fast. I'll send you the link real fast. But it's one of my faves. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are quite a few books. There are quite a few books that you can read if you really want to understand their religion.
But they got a Cash App for that. Cash App $ Shakka Ahmose if you
Oh,
want
if
to
they
get that
cash that,
library.
look, I'll give them 1,000 books before we leave if they really want to know this stuff.
The only people who
You know?
cash app will get a copy of it. Cash app him and then send me a screenshot of your cash app. I'm going to verify with him that he received the money. You know,
That's
$10 minimum, $10 minimum, and we're gonna give y'all a library of books that's gonna make you smarter than the motherfucker standing next to you.
You definitely be smarter than the Hebrew Israelite.
Last question from the audience here. He says, "Are the Ashanti people ancient Egyptians?"
That was a good question. My mother actually married into the Ashanti people, and she lives with them in West Africa to this day. In fact, yeah, my siblings are Ashanti. They are Akan. And she married into them, into the people. So you might want to click that link for them and put it on the screen so they could see. It's called The Search for God in Ancient Egypt. It's a really good book, really good. If you want to understand the whole thing about the God of the city, as opposed to even the city of God, comes out of that concept. The city of God comes out of the concept of the importance of the God in each city, right? So people like Kanye said something, well, Ye said something really stupid. He said, when he was talking about America and how we need to be respected and regarded, that we're a Christian country. And I was like, when the fuck did America become a Christian country? Like, what kind of redneck conservative Republican from the Appalachian Mountains, I don't know if you're from the Appalachian, but what kind of backwoods person, what kind of Cajun backwoods person in Louisiana are you to think that America was ever a Christian country? America from its inception was, I mean, I know you said you were a college dropout, but I think he gave himself too much credit. Some of the things Kanye says, or some of the things Ye says, makes me think he was a high school dropout, to be quite honest. I don't know how you were a college dropout and you thought America was a Christian country. Like, that means you just never took history 101, American history 101. Forget ancient history. And that's another thing. Why should I think you know what you're talking about ancient history if you can't even get recent history right? America was never a Christian country. It's religious pluralism, freedom of religion. In other words, in fact, freedom of religion should hint at almost free of religion. Or certainly free of the restrictions of religion. Why? Because that's really important. Free of the restrictions of religion, because religion unrestricted leads to absolutism. That's why you had a Catholic Church-led Europe during the Holy Roman Empire and the Pope and all this other shit. You had absolutism, religious absolutism. So no, America was never a Christian country. Many of the founders were deists. If you don't know what a deist is, look it up.
Renee Vogel just texted me. He sent $10 to Shakka Ahmose, and I just sent him a link to the book. Shout out to Renee Vogel. Well, he's got my phone number. The rest of y'all gonna have to tag me on Twitter or something with y'all screenshots or whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen,
if you ever want the title of 1,000 books that will totally take your knowledge to levels that you couldn't begin to imagine, hit me up. We can have a Cash App party, and I will give you title after title after title.
Absolutely. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Some titles I may keep to myself.
Oh, absolutely. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Shakka Ahmose.
Let me just say this. Let me say this real fast.
Okay.
The reason why, now, one of the groups of people that get really mad when you say that the ancient Egyptians were black are modern Egyptian nationals. The people that you see living in Egypt today. They hate that when you say that. And the reason is, number one, is because they're racist. That's number one. But you have to understand something about racism. The most virulent forms of racism will usually come from an economic bedrock. There's usually money involved somewhere. And what you have to understand is that when black people say the ancient Egyptians were black, that fucks with their bottom line, because the bottom line of Egypt is tourism. You have to understand that. And the same thing was true for many years for Israel and for many of these places in the Middle East. Their main income came from tourism. And when you are telling people, hey, these people that you see running around Egypt, particularly in the northern regions, Cairo and places like that, these were not the ancient Egyptians. These are people who came much later. These are the descendants of foreigners who mixed and amalgamated. And many of them not even with native Egyptians. By the time they got there, most of the native Egyptians had left, fled the country because they kept being invaded. There would be, think about all of the invasions, the Hyksos, the Shepherd Kings, right? In the second intermediate period. Even the Libyans. But the difference between the Libyans and other invaders is that when the Libyans invaded, and the Libyan invasion is something that people have to really understand, because it's a coalition of native, if you want to say Moorish-like people, right? They predate the Moors, so I don't like calling them Moors. But people like Tuaregs and all these other people that come out of the desert, these are people who allied themselves with people from the Aegean early on, almost in the prehistoric period. They allied themselves with foreigners and they subsumed them. So the Libyans, after a certain period, became a miscegenated group. The original stock would have been black people, but they became very miscegenated early on, very much so. And in fact, that was one of the things that was a rift between the native Egyptians and the Libyans from jump. Although the Libyans were also incorporated early on as a militaristic police force monitoring the Western Desert and the borders between Libya and Egypt. Okay, so, and these people at a certain point in time, they rose in Egypt, but they rose from the inside, right? Particularly once they had really set up shop after a certain period, after certain later dynasties, when they set up shop in the northern part of Egypt, in the Delta region, where they set up shop. And it was in that area and in that region that they seized power. And it was slow. Every time Egypt was taken over, it was usually a slow process, which is why I'm always telling people, and white people are, you gotta listen to white people when they talk about protecting your borders, because in many respects, that's how Egypt fell. Every time the border got laxed, new people would come in, they would seize power. And in seizing power, they would lay claim to certain bloodlines, which means that they would take some of the daughters of the natives of the world's families and they would intermix with them so that their bloodline could be legit. So there's a whole lot of shit going on, in Egypt. But I forgot why I even went there. But it's just things that I want people to understand about Egypt. Its history was very complex. It's beautiful when you understand it. There's nothing that I could think of on planet Earth that compares with the history of Egypt. Nothing. It is the most beautiful, to me, it is the most beautiful story of mankind, of all stories. It way outdoes Christianity as far as any stories in the Bible. The stories in the Bible are kind of, they're cheap. They're cheap because what it is it's an amalgamation of so many different disparate literatures from disparate cultures brought together in order to establish certain premises that themselves were false. So it's like, what do you do with that?
It's a patchwork of things.
It's a patchwork, yeah.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Shakka Ahmose. This interview will be an audio version on Spotify, Apple Music, and make sure you subscribe to Shakka Ahmose on his channel right now.
First of all, it's not Shakka Ahmose, Mr. Sarnetta. That's how Sarnetta says my name.
How is it?
It's Shakka Ahmose.
Oh, Ahmose.
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
Shakka Ahmose. And in fact, if you really want to say it properly, it's actually Shakka Ahmose. Or if you want to say it real properly, it's Shakka Ahmose.
Shakka Ahmose.
Yeah, if you say it in the native tongue, Ahmose.
Right.
Shakka, it means Shakka, born of Yah. Yeah, Yah was the lunar expression of God, or the lunar counterpart to Re, Atum.
But if I said Shakka Ahmose, that's fine.
Yeah, sure. That's the
I said it right that time, right?
Yeah, it's Shakka Ahmose. Yeah, Shakka Ahmose.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shakka Ahmose.
He'd be like, Shakka Ahmose. I'm like, man, so that'll kill me with that, man. I mean, that's my brother and everything, but he got everybody, is that Shakka Ahmose? I'm like, no.
I think that's where I got it from.
Shakka Ahmose.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
catch y'all later, y'all. We out of here.
We out. Doses.